My lords, ladies, gentlemen, both and neither, welcome to the Gentleman Strangers stream. We are playing Blades in the Dark today, which is marvelous because we've almost, not quite, never played Blades in the Dark before. We, as you know, were once planning a very different game. We were going to play our campaigns using the world's most overrated role-playing game, but we've decided not to do that and instead to run something equally gothic, but more cape swooshing, which I think is the winning choice. And so, the Gentleman Strangers, monster hunters in Victorian London with Blades in the Dark. What is there not to like? This is, of course, our first ever streamed episode. We did get together a couple of weeks ago to play our first score. You didn't see that, and in some ways you both do and do not want to see that. You'd love to see it. It was a sort of catastrophe. They did, for the record, they did succeed the score by the only definition required to succeed the score. It cost them a lot. One of them will never be the same again. But anyway, Blades in the Dark is a fantastic system. It was once a long time ago, powered by the apocalypse. I don't think it is recognizably so anymore. But it's a wonderful game. It's got a great emphasis on collaboration between players and GM, which is what we want more of, really. So, I wasn't any questions. No one's going to ask me questions. No one has any questions for me. Do any of my players have questions for me?
Blade.
Who are you?
What is a blade and what is the dark?
Did it hurt when you fell from heaven?
Oh, a pickup line, is it? Well, goodness. We've gone straight from 0 to pickup lines. I think that was a hinder that someone must have sent in, because it's the only way to shut me out of a conversation completely. Pay me a compliment or hit on me or anything, and it's just like, oh, I don't know. I think it's.
Hey yo, baby! Hey!
That's very strange.
My question is, can we move on?
Let's move on. Without any further ado, shall we begin our story? In the late 19th century, London is the engine that drives the British Empire, the unstoppable machine that produces incomprehensible wealth for those who know how to benefit from it. Yet what is an engine but a thing that devours? London consumes the happiness of its residents and feeds off their oppression, churning out misery and poverty that future generations will heap into its furnaces, a self-sustaining and terrible engine indeed. London in the late 19th century, yes, it's a modern city, but is also an ancient one. Its winding streets might be ley lines. Its deepest shadows might be gateways to another world. And so, while mortals toil for and exploit one another, there are forces more monstrous than the banality of human evil, lurking both amid the filth and the grandeur of this mighty city. We see 5 hansom cabs arriving at 5 addresses. And we see 5 masked strangers get into these cabs. As per the handwritten note they each received several days prior, they are disguised. We see 5 cabs rattling their way through the Camden streets, arriving with uncannily precise timing at the rather opulent Fitzroy Square. The tall buildings loom over a central private garden, an oasis of verdant civility. A lately full moon gleams down at these strangers through a clear February sky. You get out of your cabs, and as your cabs depart, the 5 of you are left standing on the pavement with no idea of the exact address you're meant to be visiting. Perhaps now might be a nice time. I don't know if any of you want to introduce yourselves in character, but certainly now might be a nice time to describe these masked figures. Mr. Hound, would you like to begin? I enjoy a sip of tea.
I shall, especially now that I am no longer muted. When Mr. Hound steps out of the carriage, it is difficult at first to quite place his height. He walks with something of a stoop. His collar is held high. A very fancy hat atop his head, and a strip of cloth pulled tight over the eyes with only holes for peering out of, basically conceal beneath shadow and garb anything that there is about his features. He casts a look around, and rather brazenly, in fact, will probably approach whoever the next person that Sable names is in order to introduce himself.
I'm going to do this in the order you appear on my Zoom screen, Mr. Slide.
Yes, Mr. Slide. I'll give the disguise, and then I can describe around it as he's wearing fairly a good quality suit, good quality garb, nice lovely scarf, and a tall dark blue top hat. And thus the disguise around his eyes is just it is a Venetian eye mask, checkered black and white. So it shows still quite a significant amount of face, although between the hat and coming down to here, it's good enough for superheroes. He is probably quite clearly fairly young. Hints of red hair and red sideburns coming down. Sort of square jaw is too strong, but certainly chiseled, sharp kind of profile. Pretty tall, wiry sort of athleticism about him, and likewise has sprung out of the hansom cab, cane in hand, and would turn very welcomingly if Mr. Hound is approaching him in such an open way. Mr. Slide's body language is immediately in a equally accommodating fashion with a grin, but we won't get bogged down in a scene while we're describing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Shadow.
Shadow is significantly smaller than both of the previous two people who've been described, and is wearing what might be mistaken for a good suit if you weren't looking properly. Sort of a middling suit, a trying too hard kind of suit. They have glossy black hair, and you can see the only part of them you can really see is a thin sliver of skin between shirt collar and the full face mask that they're wearing, which is almost completely blank. It just has holes for eyes, and that's it. They're sort of looking around everyone. You might think warily, but there's no facial expression that can be seen, so no idea.
Ooh. Mr. Cutter.
Hi. So after the smallest person exits the cab, same size, I think, just the only reason you can tell they were a little bit more buff is because their forearms are like wrapped, like they're in some kind of fighting pit, like a crazy person. They've got like the turban of like a sheik's turban, but there's a veil that hides the rest of their face. I think, what's the word to describe? Because they're not in a suit that you would expect, or like a dress or anything. It's like loose fitting clothing that's just wrapped around their forearms and shins, basically. It's kind of like a worn dark fabric, very mysterious, I would think. The only thing you can see of skin is the fingers and eyes, which are distinctly Indian, like South Asian, I think is how UK describes that continent of India, the country.
India's fine. We know where India is.
I don't know. I don't want to be offensive on accident or like
we
miss.
covered it once. We know where it is. It was a very
India is also the name of the place.
Well, I just
Also, because you were describing not quite a suit, do you mean like they're in a salwar kameez with linens, or are they like in
yeah. Like no genderless at this point.
I already love this outfit.
Mr. Spider.
Mr. Spider, actually true to the order of things, will almost certainly be the last person to leave the cab, a little further back from the others, keeping somewhat of a wary distance. He is dressed sort of, again, nondescriptly, kind of the opposite of Mr. Shadow, in that from a distance, he is wearing quite plain, neutral colors. But as you approach, you realize they're quite nicely made. He's tied his cravat and his tie, and his waistcoat's very, very neat. He's very stylish, but very simple. He wears a top hat over dark hair and wears a mask that is definitely designed entirely for function. It's built to stay on his face and be anonymizing, rather than Mr. Slide's very elegant ensemble. But the mask will almost certainly be the thing that is the least well made of everything he has. And he walks a little behind the others, just to get the measure of who is here. He is moderately tall and quite svelte.
Thank you.
I guess to briefly hop in back to the scene with Mr. Slide and Mr. Hound, he is not shy in extending a hand.
Mr. Slide is not shy in taking.
When he does so, the long coat he wears sweeps aside. The clothes he is wearing are, again, very nicely put together. And there's a big smile from beneath the cloth mask that he has pulled over his nose. Pleasure to meet you, sir.
Pleasure to meet you. I'm terribly glad that actually more people have shown up and this didn't turn out to be some sort of jape at my expense. I believe that I am to be called Mr. Slide.
Mr. Slide? Well, it is a pleasure to make your acquaintance, sir. I suppose the next name for me will be, for the time being, Mr. Hound. I've got a few names, that is, but that seems most appropriate for the formalities of the evening.
Well, we all seem to have our parts to play in whatever is coming next. Good evening, gentlemen. Turning with a sweep to everyone else, cane in hand.
You're gonna get like an up and down, and then a. That's it.
Not much of a talker, but there's worse crimes on God's earth. And what about you, sir? A nod to the lurk.
Shadow.
Forgive me.
Call me
Mr.
Shadow.
All right. Well, Shadow it is.
Right, yes. Pleasure to make your acquaintance, gentlemen. Seems pseudonyms are the way of things here.
As we've been told.
In which case, should I have had the opportunity to choose my own pseudonym, perhaps something a little less affected, but Mr. Spider.
I say, very curious choice by this mysterious messenger of ours.
Does anyone know where we're supposed to be going?
Not a clue, not the foggiest.
I presume one
Right.
of these?
Well, yeah, but there's a lot to choose from, innit?
I desperately hope that someone comes along and shows us the way before we are apprehended for looking like absolute miscreants up to no good in this fine part of the city.
Oh, we could start
Up a
knocking on
short
doors.
flight of steps, a door swings open, and within it you see a shadowy figure. The moon is behind the building, and there are no lights on within, so it's impossible to make out any detail. Nevertheless, wordlessly, the figure inclines its head as if to invite you in, and then steps back into the building.
Shall we?
Why not? Slide will not push to go first, but he'll certainly happily saunter on forward.
Shadow is lurking at the back.
Oh my god.
Had to get it in there at least once.
Yep, my girl, I appreciate the brand loyalty. By the time you make it through the door, the figure is nowhere to be seen, but you hear a woman's voice calling from upstairs. Gentlemen, join me.
Not at all ominous. Good day.
Well, that's me done.
That's a greeting. Good day. As I take the stairs. Fuck this.
Yep. It's not difficult to. This place is so dusty. It's not in disrepair exactly, but it's obvious that it's not been necessarily well maintained. The voice was coming from a room upstairs. These are these wonderful London buildings where you've got 3 stories above the ground and 2 below the ground. You go up 1 flight of stairs and you enter a room that was clearly either a lounge or a study. You see dusty decanters, unpolished silver carafes, and empty bookshelves. Almost all of the furniture is covered in white sheets. 1 chair alone, an armchair that looks comfortable, even if its upholstery has seen better days, is occupied by a figure you can scarcely see. Thank you for joining me, gentlemen. Mr. Slide, would you... Actually, no. No, Mr. Shadow is at the back. Mr. Shadow, would you kindly turn up that gas lamp? I'm afraid this house is not been fitted for electric. Thank you. The figure sitting in the chair is a woman in her 50s, black hair specked with grey. She's not masked, and the skin tightly bound to her slender frame is pale and sallow. The woman is very visibly unwell. She's dressed in what you would normally call men's clothing, and very few layers, a loose-fitting white shirt that was once very fine, now frayed and worn, and dark trousers, faded and thin at the knees, and shoes that have not seen polish in a long time. Behind her on the far wall, you see the only thing in this building so far that looks new and cared for, a colour portrait of Queen Victoria in a gilded frame. This portrait is not new, or if it is, it's outdated, for the Queen appears as she must have done 20 years ago, maternal, but not elderly. A brass plaque is set into the bottom rim of the frame, graven, of course, with that most stern of prayers, God save the Queen. The woman takes in a dry breath and speaks. Forgive me for not standing, but I fatigue very easily these days. You must also, I fear, forgive me for having nowhere for you to sit. I am Madam Whisper, and though you, gentlemen, are strangers to one another, you have more in common than it might first appear. I shall not waste your time. I know that each of you has seen a glimpse into the secret other world that London is part of, a world of spectres and sorcery and secret rites. An outlandish, though you may find this clandestine gathering of ours, I have brought you together in part to tell you that your instincts were not misled. This other world exists, except that it is not an other world. It is here and now. Monsters prey upon the citizens of London, wearing their own outlandishness as cloaks, going about their foul business undetected and unimagined. You, because of what you have each seen, have the imagination and the skills to find and put a stop to these creatures. Your minds have been opened by past experience to the horrors that lurk behind the veils of reason and science. But I did not assemble you to marvel at these truths. I have assembled you to be nothing less than hunters, killers, avengers of the everyday citizen. London is a magnificently foul place, and there is quite enough to torment the poor and weak without them fearing for their very souls. Would you not say, Mr. Cutter? My gathering you here is not an ultimatum. 5 is fewer than I had hoped for, but perhaps more than I had expected. or these letters of mine were received by perhaps a dozen enterprising persons, you are the only ones who have answered. So be it, so be it. But each of you must weigh for yourselves the merits and perils of walking this path I lay before you. Perils to your body and soul, gentlemen, body and soul. I have a vital task for you to perform, and this task will form the covenant that binds you together. But know this, if any of you should leave this place and never return, then that will be the end of it. Of everyone in this room, only I know your true names. And I, as you may gather, am not long for this world. So you may choose quite safely to continue your lives as normal. Perhaps others will arise to fight for humankind, perhaps not, but all you need to do is walk out of this place and return to your homes. But if you feel, as I feel, that humankind needs the protection of those with open eyes, that a shield must guard the unwary and a sword avenge them, you gentlemen strangers may take your place namelessly, thanklessly, but rightfully among the heroes of this land. There is a man named Sidney Weller, and I need for him to die tonight. Sidney Weller is barely part of the occult world, but the role he plays in it is crucial and sickening. Sidney Weller is a man who portrays himself as a peddler of eccentric curiosities, and indeed he is. Yet his success he owes to a far darker trade. Mr. Sidney Weller is known as a philanthropist, taking orphan children from the streets, teaching them a shopkeeper's trade, and seeing them on their way to paid work, a veritable apprenticeship, no doubt. In reality, Mr. Sidney Weller trains these children in certain basic skills needed by the apprentices of occult practitioners, and then sells his wards to those practitioners. These children are not seen again, gentlemen. They are not practitioners. They're not apprentices. None of them will become wizards. None of them will become shopkeepers. They are experimental subjects and human sacrifices. I have done my part over the years to dismantle as much of his vile operation as I can, but he is well cared for by the darker parts of the occult community. His operation must stop, and the only way that that is ever going to happen is his death. And death is not the only thing he deserves. He deserves, most precisely, to be murdered, because he betrays the innocent and sells them to their deaths. And I will be more frank than that. I doubt, gentlemen, I doubt very much that I shall see tomorrow. And it would be a black mark upon my soul if a contemptible creature such as Sidney Weller should outlive me. He is the last of my enemies. If you ensure that he arrives in the waiting arms of the devil before I depart this world, then I will bestow upon you all that you need to succeed in this awful new life I'm offering you. You must have questions.
I'm gonna step forward.
Staccato.
Where can we find this beast?
A thin smile creeps its way across her pale, wrinkle-cracked face. Yes, Mr. Cutter, that is indeed a very good question. It is not one I know the answer to. This man has always evaded me in the past, but he has one weakness, Mr. Cutter. He is a businessman. He must have a premises of business. His shop is something of a private club. Only his most reliable customers may know where it is. But there is a place, gentlemen. There is a place where such business as the occult might do is conducted. And there is a man who may know where Mr. Sidney Weller keeps his new premises. Yes. You should proceed to the Covent Garden, where you will find a pub called simply Aventine. The landlord of this establishment operates this pub as a neutral ground for practitioners of the occult. This neutral ground is a vital component of London's esoteric underworld. And those who operate their businesses there may be assured of the protection of the landlord, with one exception. For reasons that I am sure are his own, our landlord despises slavery in all of its forms and will offer no protection to those who perpetrate it, whether they perpetrate it upon his premises or not. And I am afraid that Mr. Sidney Weller has fallen foul of that particular qualification. Aventine, Mr. Cutter, the landlord and his staff overhear many conversations, all of which they keep to themselves. But their protection has limits. Aventine.
Most reasonable starting point, certainly, as I was going to... I do not doubt your general motives. The information that you have, and also the information you've given, certainly does not come as much of a shock based upon my experiences, although ladies such as yourself, good madam, who I've only just met this evening asking me to murder a gentleman, is the sort of thing where I like a certain amount of confirmation first. So it sounds as if the Aventine is the sort of place where, indeed, if he is such a beast who deserves it, there may be loose lips ready to slip us a few more spots of evidence.
Yes, Mr. Slide, and your caution is both appropriate and admirable. After all, I know Mr. Sidney Weller and his many sins, but I cannot expect you to simply take my word. I could be deceiving you into murdering an honest businessman, after all.
I'm aware that these gentlemen are very often not exactly what they seem, and the idea that there exists this sort of underground market for urchins to be churned up by such a machine, that in itself I find distressingly believable.
Quite.
I mean, I was rather hoping for a bit more information than that. Maybe some proof. I mean, like Mr. Slide says, you can, tell us to go murder a man and maybe we'll do it and maybe we won't. But I would
Yes.
rather like some kind of proof.
Quite right, however. any proof we receive from this individual here will automatically garner suspicion.
That's true enough.
Therefore, if we have been set on the correct path, any information we gather ourselves will be far more above reproach.
Also, I suppose otherwise the good lady is only going to provide some urchin who will say that they almost got horribly sacrificed in some occult ritual, which, frankly, you could pay an urchin to do anything. And I don't think you give receipts for purchased urchin to be sacrificed to dark entities.
Yeah.
Besides which, you must understand that although Mr. Weller himself is not a prominent or well-known individual, he is protected.
May
He
we
is
ask
protected
by
by persons whose activities require a consistent supply of fresh blood, and they will go to any lengths to ensure that he is kept away from, for example, prosecution.
believe I understand.
When I say that this man must die for both functional reasons and moral ones, I do not exaggerate. He must die, for only upon his death will his operations cease, because he trusts very few people, and there is no one but Mr. Weller in his operation, and he must die for moral reasons because he has quite earned it.
So this is exactly the sort of thing one can wander into a local police station and report to the Metropolitan Police.
Yeah, nah, that's not happening. So, aside from this pub, what else do we need to know? Like, does he have bodyguards, or is he just protected in a much more sort of nebulous way?
Mr. Weller, in my experience, is a man afraid of his own shadow. He has enemies, and he knows he has enemies. I would say to you that it is very likely his premises are guarded. The only way in to any of his premises that I have ever visited has been the front door. And that is exactly how he likes it. But he believes that all of his enemies are gone. He's wrong. He's unfortunately very wrong. He's an old man. He's older than I, in a sense. He will not be difficult to murder, gentlemen, but he is he is equipped, shall we say, with certain... You must forgive the use of an outlandish word, gentlemen, when I say that he's equipped with certain sorceries. If he is allowed to speak, your minds will be puppets before him. I'm sure I do not need to paint a picture, therefore, of how his execution must be conducted.
So I suppose we shouldn't be trying to find out whether or not he's entertaining.
Once Mr. Weller is dead, I'm sure you will trust your instincts when it comes to ransacking his belongings.
Wonder what such a fellow has. I'm not talking wealth, I'm talking sort of curiosities.
He mostly sells odds and ends, trinkets, something of a pawn shop where one exchanges family jewelry with a story of a curse or things of this nature. Nothing particularly supernatural in and of itself. No. All of that sort of thing is, shall we say, behind the counter. Your everyday man or woman upon the street might walk into his shop and purchase a curio, but his select clientele as you know, have far more exotic purchases in mind. Not just children, of course, objects of true power, though in truth Mr. Weller is not particularly gifted in the area of acquiring such items. Otherwise, he would have made his fortune that way. No, he makes his fortune by beguiling and betraying the innocent.
I have only one more question.
Mr. Slide, I shall answer to the best of my abilities.
Is there anything we shouldn't drink at the Aventine? What's their specialty?
They cater to all tastes, Mr. Slide, but if you were to ask for any spirit, and it is poured from a decanter rather than a bottle, I should avoid it.
Most excellent. Thank you, madam. You are graciousness itself.
I will say this about the landlord of the Aventine. Earning his trust will make your lives much longer. Because earning his protection is as good as a suit of armor on occasion. That being said, the man can smell a lie as well as a dog smells blood. And others have suffered for trying. Forgive my nostalgia. My time here is nearly done. I have very few regrets except that I have allowed Mr. Sidney Weller to live. And
If
you...
we decide to go ahead with this, how might you know that we have been successful?
How do I know that you will not simply return to me some hours from now, claim that Mr. Sidney Weller is dead, but you have not performed the deed?
Quite.
I shall know, Mr. Spider. I have means of knowing. Remember, I have had the resource to find you all, and to know of the experiences you have had, even those experiences you have told no one of. You may consider me a person of ingenuity.
Vastly curious. Exciting.
That curiosity, Mr. Slide, is an instinct that will serve you all very, very well. Though there is a time and place for certain questions.
Very well. It seems that as time is of the essence.
You must kill him tonight, gentlemen, and you must return to me tonight with the news. If you do not return, I will assume that you have rejected my offer, and you will never have to worry about hearing from me ever again.
Well then, I hope, madam, that we may return with the news that we've confirmed that he is such a devil, and that we have sent him exactly where he belongs.
Right then, should we get a move on?
Although, Mr. Hound, you've been quite quiet.
I'm surprised that no one else, other than for the sake of the protection of Mistress Shadow, Whisper's legacy, has brought up the notion of recompense and due reward, given that it's going to be our own capacity going into this, our own resources. Maybe some coin should be on the table.
Oh, I suppose.
I was just planning on looting everything the bastard has. Excuse my French.
I remember this place when it was thronging with people. This place is not a home. It was once called the Millennium Club, a private club of sorts for those with an interest in a bright future. An end to poverty and hunger by the year 2000 was the vision. And here they sang and laughed and toasted the success of the empire in bringing an end to injustice in the world. Mr. Hound, the completion of this task will in effect make you all my heirs and the heirs to what remains of the Millennium Club. It has no members any longer. It has not been open for 20 years. But it has assets beyond these walls. Assets beyond the financial, but happily for Mr. Hound, assets that include the financial. Your reward, Mr. Hound, will be this building and all that is in it. But your reward will also be mortal peril.
Golly.
I think some of the finances will go to putting a few more chairs in here. But that's me satiated by terms of requests and clarifications.
Well then, shall we go get a drink, gentlemen?
Gonna be a bit hard in this mask, but I'll give it a shot.
Yeah, so we're going to get looked askance if we're all cloak and dagger in such a place? Or is this a place for the unusuals?
Oh, Mr. Slide, some of the patrons of this pub are, not to put too fine a point on the word, wizards. I do
Capital.
not imagine that those who simply wish to conceal their identity will raise so much as an eyebrow.
And I do actually have one further question. May we still use the cabs outside? They're a complete pest to try to acquire sometimes at this time of night.
I am sure you will be able to find transport, Mr. Slide. You are a man of considerable initiative.
That is true. Inconvenient.
Right, well. Child sellers to murder, pubs to go to, alcohol to drink, shall we?
Why not?
The very best of luck to you, gentlemen.
So as they're leaving, I want to be behind them because I want to talk to the Mrs. Whisper,
Madam Whisper, yeah.
Madam Whisper. I don't know if they would hear this or not, but I think I would approach and like, how frail is she? Like, if I like reached out to take a hand, would she let me?
Like she's one of these, like she's not actually what we would call elderly. Like I said, she is in her 50s, but she has the frame of a much older woman. She's so ill. And like she's got like her arms are so thin, like matches.
Oh, my heart. I think I'd do like a slight, like just a tap on her hand or something, like just barely, but like, would you like his head?
Mr. Cutter, your sense of humor is wonderful. All I need, Mr. Cutter, is that before I leave this world to whatever it is that awaits me, that man is already in Satan's loving arms.
I think even like beyond the veil, you could see like the eyeballs are smiling, you know. And then a brief nod, and then out the door behind the others.
Thank you, Mr. Cutter. Mr. Cutter?
I'll turn them around dramatically. Things swish in the breeze.
If you get the chance, make him suffer.
You get a nod, and I continue out the door.
you descend the stairs to Fitzroy Square. And a minute or so later, Mr. Cutter steps out of the front door with you. And two cabs pull up. They're not hansoms. They're carriages, so you can comfortably fit all of you between the two of them. You're not quite sure where they came from, but they're here.
Bound up. I think bound is a word I'm going to be using an awful lot with Mr. Slide.
The front cabbie goes, Aventine, isn't it?
Yes, good fellow. Absolutely. And bound on in.
Mr. Slider will follow Mr. Slide and will say something like, resourceful indeed.
Bowman in the chat has asked the absolutely vital question. How are you dividing yourself among these cabs? Who's riding with whom?
Wait, how many did you say there were?
There are two cabs. They can each hold comfortably 4 people. You can all squeeze into one if you want to, but it'll be a bit tight for people who don't know each other.
With Slide and Spider seemingly going in the front carriage, Hound immediately moves to the back carriage.
It's quite rude, but that's understandable.
Shadow is going wherever Cutter is going.
Then we're gonna go in the second carriage with Mr. Hound.
Man-spread carriage.
Man spread and leg room.
So what we've effectively got is the front carriage is the sort of the chipper happy conspiracy adventurers, and in the back is the scary, terrifying muscle.
Yes, the blatant murderers can go in the back carriage.
The obvious thieves, scoundrels, cut purses, and murderers in the back carriage, and the affluent and respectable thieves, cut purses, scoundrels, and murderers.
So what you're saying is we've got the first class carriage and the second class carriage.
Third class.
When Lurk and Cutter get in, like Hound has already got one pistol out and on his side and is in the middle of loading another pistol.
Bethan, I'll say it. Shadow Man. Shadow.
Not Lurk. I'm Shadow.
Forgive me. I'm going to change that UI element for the next one. That's
Thank you.
Throwing me off.
Fortunately, I'm looking at Zoom where you've all got the correct ones. Yes. To be honest, for almost as long as we've been setting this game up, you've been Shadow. So Lurk isn't even a word that's in my brain anymore, fortunately. So yes, it's you are driven. It's this time. It's not night really. It's sort of. I mean, it is because it's February, but it's about sort of 8 p.m. at about this point. There's not much going on. It's really about a 10, not even that, a 10-minute ride. And you step out, and I don't know who of you is the most affluent, but one of you, gives a few coins to the cabbies.
I'll tip the cabbies.
And off they ride for the next fair. The Aventine is a little bit more than a pub. You can hear a piano playing, and it sounds as though the place is very busy. It's not actually on. It's not quite in Covent Garden. It's off, but it's in that kind of area, and you can certainly hear a street away the bustle of Covent Garden, all it has to offer commercially and theatrically. Market stalls will be taking down for the day. It's a rather nice building, this. Pub is a strange word, rather humble for these surroundings, but it's a public house. It is there's no one is stopping you from entering. There's no implication you need to be a member or anything like that. There's no password or need for you to prove your worthiness of entering. And as you go in, you see this wonderful bar. It's one of these pubs where the bar is an island in the center, and the staff can move all around the central island where the bottles are kept. And it needs it. This place is not packed to the gunnels, but it is comfortably packed. There are spare There are spare tables, there are places to sit, but there's a wonderful atmosphere here. You don't see anything all that outlandish. You certainly don't see anyone in, I don't know what it is you all imagine wizards look like, but you don't see any Merlins hanging around or anything like that. Though there are a few conversations where it's very clear that it's private. And just as Madam Whisper suggested, your entrance garners no more than a glance to see who it is. But no one the piano doesn't dramatically stop as you enter. These masked strangers enter. I'm here to talk about Dracula. What? Don't ask them about Dracula. Dracula's actually the landlord, so that'd be kind of awful. But you can see that among the various staff and proportionate to the number of customers, this place is very well staffed, and there's table service here. Because the idea of constantly getting up and going to the bar would cause chaos. You can see some people at the bar having a chat with the various staff. One of the staff does stand out, and you pretty reasonably infer that this is in fact the landlord. He's dressed the best. He's wearing a nice suit, not a nice suit the way Mr. Slide would probably class as a nice suit, but he's wearing a well-cut suit in a decent fabric that is obviously well cared for. It wouldn't pass muster, if you were going to work at the bank, but it would certainly not raise eyebrows if you were to say that he were a doctor with a decent practice under him. He's easily 6 feet tall, and he doesn't have an excessively muscular build, but it's very obvious that he's on the tougher end of the spectrum, this guy, and he's having a nice, amiable chat. He seems to be counting bottles while having an amiable chat with a customer sitting at the bar. The customer eventually takes their drink, offers a quick cheers to the landlord, and goes to resume his table. And the landlord turns and sees you. For a moment, he looks a little taken aback, but then he smiles warmly. Gentlemen, what can I get you?
I believe we may need a table. We can sort ourselves, but otherwise, who would like a wine? Should we try some wine? Should we get a bottle of wine? We'll get a bottle of wine, please. Red wine. What have you got? I'll go for something Italian if you're.
He actually hands you a wine list.
Oh, splendid! Thank you, good sir.
Mary, their usual table, if you don't mind. Sorry, you've never been here before. It's around the back. Mary will show you.
Thank you, sir.
So, I couldn't interrupt you because you were doing descriptions and things, but Mr. Spider doesn't go in straight away with the others.
Okay.
Because he wants to look at the building first.
Okay.
But there was no polite time to ask you.
Yeah, like I said, it's a very nice building. It's on a couple of floors. You can certainly see lights on the what in England we call the first floor, but what in I think literally the rest of the world calls the second floor.
Yeah. Okay, so there's lights and things, but the fact that the building is so nice for the area is a little suspicious to Mr. Spider. What are the buildings like around it?
So the architecturally they're very similar, but they are mostly offices. You've got a lot of lawyers and business agents and so forth around here, and some private banking interests. This is the only thing on this street that is an entertainment or refreshments venue.
The only one on this street, also interesting, something Mr. Spider will lodge away in his brain. And on the way in at last, having stopped to look at seemingly inconsequential things, but things that are of interest to him, he's going to pause at the threshold and have a good look at the lintel to get the name of the proprietor.
You want to put this fellow on the back foot by going in already knowing his name? Is that the idea?
I just like knowing. I like knowing the things.
It proudly proclaims in brass that Mr. H.E. Nesmith is licensed to purvey intoxicating liquor.
And then he'll join the back of the group with the others.
I'll be over to visit you once you're settled in and make sure you've got everything you need. But please enjoy your evening.
Thank you, sir. Very good, Mr. Spider. Found something interesting along your way?
I was simply having a look at the premises.
Fair enough. Now, I'm thinking the Montepulciano. Opinions? No? Yes?
I'm sure that was Italian.
It was, yes.
Yeah, it's about the only comment I have on the matter, I think.
Well, it will do, I think, first.
I would say potentially a tad rich for this time of the evening, but given that we are discussing business, probably necessary.
Start as you mean to go on, I say.
Mary will take the wine list from you and promise to return forthwith with a bottle. And not too long later, it's actually the landlord that brings it. Not, in fact, in a bottle. He has decanted it for you, and Mary's following behind with a tray with some glasses. Here you are, Mr. Slide, I think, and Mr. Hound, Mr. Shadow, Mr. Cutter, Mr. Spider, of course. Please, if there's anything else we can get you, I'll be just over there, of course.
Oh, I'm sure you can probably get to the conversation, considering you seem very well informed, good sir.
Oh, well, thanks for the wine, Mr. Nesmith. That will be all.
Really?
Oh, I'm not Mr. Nesmith. No. That's a bit of a misapprehension, Mr. Nesmith. Oh, you know Mr. Nesmith. That's fascinating.
I know of him.
Then I think you have us as a disadvantage, sir.
Oh, well, not at all, since I don't know your names as such.
Well, then what do I call you, good sir?
Landlord is fine. Is there anything else I can get you?
I mean, I'm a little confused. Have we been here before?
No, not at all, not at all. But you're very recognizable, of course, in a sense.
Right.
I'm assuming that you then have some understanding of the broad reasons for why we may be here.
I don't ask questions about any
I
business
understand.
that's conducted on these premises, of course. Discretion is key.
I understand, but we are somewhat in the business of looking into someone who may be considered indiscreet, and thus we're hoping that you might put us in the right direction.
Oh, I see. Mary, why don't you make sure that Lord Walmsley is looked after? Thank you. Well, gentlemen, how may I be of assistance?
Over the course of our jaunt, the name of Mr. Sidney Weller has crossed our paths.
I believe I've heard the name. Not a recent patron of mine, I must confess.
You anyone who in this place who does any business with the gentleman? We're hoping to take the measure of the lay of the land before, dipping our toe any further in.
I am not acquainted with anyone who does business with Mr. Sidney Weller, Mr. Slade.
Mr. Cutter is going to put hands on the table and make spooky eye contact. We have intelligence that suggests he's been enslaving children.
Oh, I'm going straight to it.
And if it helps, Mr. Landlord, we'd rather he didn't.
We're not in the business of trying to acquire children. We're in the business of wanting to put an end to that operation. A final end, if you catch my meaning.
Well, then I wish you the very best of luck with that. A righteous cause indeed.
Our thanks, Mr. Landlord, for your assistance.
Although if there's any further assistance you could render on that front.
Of course, you won't find it very easy to get rid of Mr. Weller without knowing exactly where he is.
That is kind of the crux of the matter, yeah.
You know that I have many patrons who would rather not be tracked down by strangers.
Of course. And we would never, ever insult you by demanding such information from you, sir.
You're very well informed of my particular code of honor.
You seem well informed on who we are, so it just seems fair.
I have no idea who you are whatsoever, Mr. Slide.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that rather the point?
Mm-hmm.
But I know what you are. Very well. I suppose it would be rude of me to claim to recognize you, and in the same breath not to trust your purpose in asking me these questions. So, he's in a place in Blackfriars, looking down the river. Lamb and Sons Curiosities was the name above the door last time I checked. He's there all hours. He lives above the shop. While you're there, if he's so unwise as to keep a written list of clients, those names might have value to me. Cash value. They might also have value to you, but copies can be made.
We shall certainly keep our eyes peeled, Mr. Landlord.
My name's not Landlord, Mr. Spider.
Indeed.
You can just call me Landlord. I'm not Mr. Gregory Landlord.
Well, this is rather good wine, Landlord.
Very strange. Very strange indeed. Strange for me, not for you.
No, it's a fairly normal vintage, I'd say. Very good.
Don't think he's talking about wine anymore.
I think I took his meaning. However, everything here is very strange.
Well, unless there's anything else I can get for you.
I think we're good, my good man.
You're very welcome here, Mr. Slide. All of you.
Thank you, Landlord.
He sort of looks at you strangely, like measuring you up. All right. Enjoy. He turns around and waves at someone you can't quite see and goes, "Minister!" and then strides off towards another table.
Shadows pulled up their legs, so they're now just sitting with their legs crossed on the chair.
Like me?
Yeah, that's what I'm currently doing. So, well, that was exciting.
It was. He was very forthcoming. Might I suggest in future we try to not open with we're planning on, however heinous we may believe these individuals to be, that we're planning on, murder?
Quite. Very indiscreet.
For all we know, these various individuals who we don't meet may not take such a unkind eye towards the barbarities that these people indulge in. Clearly there has to be a market. However, that worked out rather well.
I mean, he did seem to... Well, either he's a very good fake, or he's some kind of, I don't know, future-seeing wizard, whatever you'd call one of those.
Or he simply, I'm assuming he's some sort of associate of Madam Whispers, considering she recommended us to this place.
And he sent us to our usual table.
Yes.
The one we've never been to before.
We're assuming we're the first people to ever be called Mr. Slide, Mr. Spider, etc.
Well, then he's very good at what he does. So, what's our next move? We don't have very long.
Certainly, I'd say that within my area of expertise, it is not breaking into a shop above Blackfriars and the resident above a shop in Blackfriars and murdering the proprietor. That's
Well, the first half of it is very definitely mine.
thought it might be.
And no offense, Mr. Hound, but making a grand assumption, I think the second half might be yours.
Yeah, I figured I was brought on this to actually just kill the fella and be on with it.
Oh, don't sell Mr. Carter here short either.
Oh no, I wouldn't dream of it.
Madam Whisper did request that he suffer before he died.
Oh,
Okay, good to know.
good to know.
Good-
Keep that one in
Good
mind.
inquiry. Good inquiry.
So, how long is it going to take you to finish that wine, Mr. Slide? How long do we have to plan?
Well, I mean, it would be a terrible waste if I were to just completely down this entire bottle, although I'm surely someone's going to join me. At least a sip, it's worth a try.
My
sip.
question then to you, Mr. Shadow, and to some extent Mr. Cutter, is since you are self-confessed purveyors of violence, and you seem somewhat flippant to Mr. Slide's request for discretion, is there to be equal trust in this group that we have been assembled to perform to the best of our abilities?
I would assume we were all picked for a purpose, and that we are all very good at the very specific things that we do.
Then I assume you have some sort of weapon.
As I said, the violence isn't really my forte, the breaking in is.
Then
But
I
yes.
assume you have the necessary devices.
I do.
In which case, please consider that my weapon is discretion.
Understood. I'm sure we will do our best when we've got a bit more of a steady footing with one another. Get to know each other a bit better.
Of course.
Or at least get to know the masks.
But it will be quite impossible for us to do that should we stumble and fall at the first hurdle.
Must be very efficient and discreet murderers, then.
Your point is very taken, Mr. Spider. I imagine that planning would be your forte. If the name is anything to go by.
Planning, perhaps, yes. But
Spider in the center of the web. No?
it is a somewhat apt metaphor, but it is not the full story. The importance, I believe, in a group of this is in information. What we know and what we do not know. So first, what do we know?
We know that he's a
Blackfriars.
peddler of eccentric curiosities and puts on the public face of being a philanthropist. Seems that he operates out of Lamb and Sons Curiosities in Blackfriars, which appears to be something of a pawn shop or curiosity shop. We'll know more when we get there. And that all of this is a front and possibly a networking opportunity for him to sell children as human sacrifices, which might suggest that there is additional storage within the location.
Place has only one means of entering and exit, one front door.
Or was that what she said, or did she just say that she'd only ever been there through the front door, or
I would-
visited him through the
I
front
would
door?
say with a paranoid man, only having one entrance or exit seems like a terrible plan.
I believe the implication was that there was one entrance and exit that was particularly fortified. The rest were mysterious or fortified in other fashions.
One visible one, lots of hidden ones, probably. Yeah. That makes sense.
Nevertheless, Mr. Shadow, if you believe that housebreaking is in your skilled wheelhouse, perhaps a look at the building will give you more information than simply what we have been told.
Sounds like a very good plan, Mr. Spider. Can't break into something if I've never seen it before. Well, I mean, I could, but it'd take longer.
We should not all go together. For it will compromise us somewhat if we are all seen in one place at one time, other than here, which is unavoidable. I suggest, therefore, that leaving the tavern, walking some distance away and taking a somewhat cheaper sort of hansom cab, you, Mr. Hound, and Mr. Cutter go and scope out the premises. Only then will we be able to formulate a correct plan for how we are to break into this establishment. Bless you.
Well, that sounds fine by me.
And what would you two be doing?
We shall be seeking more information about the individual in question.
Seems fair. Do we come back here when we're done, or what?
Yes. You will return to this place. Bring as much information as you can and do not be seen.
Well then, lads, we got a job to do.
Rightio. Be seeing you, gents. Stand and leave.
Yep. Is Cutter coming with us? Awesome.
Yeah, well,
Cutter's just like, no, I'm staying here actually.
I want more of the wine. I've had a sip. It's pretty great.
well, I mean, I know where it is, right? They said the it's a
Yeah,
curiosity
you were given
shop.
the address, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not gonna follow along. I'm gonna like stay and like I would like a sip of the wine because Mr. Slide said it was good.
Yeah.
Be off with you. I'm just gonna like take more time to leave, but I am going to follow eventually.
All right, we'll see you there.
We'll say quietly to Shadow as we leave. I think that's how Mr. Cutter is going to operate. I think Mr. Cutter will get there on Mr. Cutter's time.
And
Seems
Mr.
like-
Cutter,
Eyeballs.
you should not take me as an unpleasant gentleman. Your fire and your passion is admirable. Please do not mistake my desire for control to be a coldness towards the severity of our mission.
Get a nod and I want to say something cool though. Hold on. In future, I'll wait for you to tell me what to say. No, just leave.
I was going to say, I think it worked anyway. It wasn't that stupid if it worked.
Okay, well, the official motto of the Gentleman Strangers is, it wasn't that stupid if it worked. That's going to come up again. Spoiler warning, that's definitely going to come up again.
No.
I mean,
That is kind of how
3 for 3.
Blazing Dark works. Like, was it a
Yeah.
good plan? It worked.
Fail
Yeah.
forward.
Fail forward.
We are so far,
Me.
history says we are very good at that, or we will be.
Flashback.
Flash forward. I'm in a canal.
Listen, fuck off. I just poured coffee all down myself and I died of coughing.
How would you
I, whatever. I got shot again. Let's just go.
Just in the middle of the Amazon.
So, Cutter, are you sort of making your own way there so you'll arrive after they do? Is that the idea? Okay.
I mean, I know I look mysterious, but it's not actually my skill set. So I'm hoping to arrive after they do that. I can be backup, but they don't know that. And I don't want to give the impression of weakness just yet. So-
Okay, all right, fine.
Oh.
So Messrs. Hound and Shadow, you can make your way there. It's not too much of a walk if you want to walk, but if you want to save some time, you can easily get a cab from Covent Garden, whichever you prefer. There's not that kind of time pressure on here. You're talking about turning a 20-minute walk into a 10-minute drive rather than hours. However it is you arrive, you weren't given an exact street So it's definitely a case of sort of walking around Blackfriars, and but you do know one thing. You know that it looks out over the river. Landlord told you that much. So that does narrow things down a fair bit, because most of Blackfriars doesn't. And indeed, you find a street that does. There are still it's lit, it's gas lit here, and you can see that there are some people with carts still trying to get the last few customers before they call it a day. There are a couple of ladies selling flowers. You've got one person who is walking around touting his still fresh jellied eels. And there you see Lamb and Son's Curiosities. There is a light in the window. You can see in the window is dressed with a whole array of bric-a-brac, just the strangest collection of completely athematic objects you've ever seen. The perfect window display to entice people who have a few shillings on them and want to pick up something odd, a conversation starter. That's what you would call the selection in the window. This is a shop that sells conversation pieces. And you can see, I'm not going to say you're peering right in the window. You can make this as a narrow street. You can make this out from the other side. I'm not going to just, what's going on in there? That's up to you to decide. There is indeed, as promised, there is what appears to be, there's another floor, which would presumably be this guy's flat above the shop. The shop is directly abuts the surrounding buildings. There's no alleyways around the side, but you do know from having gotten here that there is an alleyway that many of these buildings will share as a back alley. Any further investigation I will leave to your good graces and perhaps the roll of some dice.
Where did Izzy go?
Her computer died.
Sometimes
okay.
that happens.
Okay, cool.
She needs a new one keenly.
Okay. Trying to bear in mind this is a very different system that I'm used to.
Of course, no, don't worry.
And I'm not sure how much planning we're supposed to do in advance.
So what you're doing at the moment, there is not in Blades in the Dark, there is no planning phase.
Mm-hmm.
You do gather information, and then you, together, when you've got all the information you think is pertinent, you will then tell me the sort of plan you do, assault, stealth, etc.,
yes.
etc. And your characters, who are much better at planning because they're heist folk, will do the planning. You have to worry about it. So all you need to do now is
just gather information.
Yeah, what information do you need to try to make a plan, and tell me how you go about getting it, really.
All right. How many ways in or out of the building is a big obvious one. Especially if there's more than, if it's in a row of buildings, there's conceivably other ways out. That might go through other people's basements and things.
Well, you can see
that sort of thing.
You can see for sure that above the flat there is a there's a sloped roof with a skylight, so there is an attic at least. It's possible the attics connect. It's a very short attic. It is definitely a storage attic rather than a people go here. It's not a room.
Yeah.
It's definitely a crawl space.
Okay.
But it's perfectly conceivable that it's connected. There's a rear, the flue, the chimney is to the rear of the building. So the attic space is, in all likelihood, very restrictive. And there's no way to tell from here if there is a basement. There's no railing overlooking a lower level. You would think not, just based
right next to the river.
The water table would be too high. That's never stopped the builders of London before. I mean,
True.
we know, with the benefit of modern architecture, there's an entire Roman city that's just under the river, that just is gone. And also in Camden, as you all will know in character, there are underground streets fondly referred to as the locals as the Camden Catacombs, though they're actually nothing of the kind. And they regularly flood because much of Camden is below the water table. So digging underground streets was not necessarily, wise. But yes, you would think it unlikely that there would be a basement, just because it would flood far too easily.
Does it have a back door, an obvious back door, the shop?
For that, because you would have to go into the back alley that abuts many buildings, I would ask for, I think, some sort of roll for that.
Okay. Can I offer you a prowl?
I think prowl makes the most sense to me.
Fantastic. It's the one I'm best at.
I'm glad I stayed behind.
Prowl or survey, either one would do, but I think your focus generally is on not being seen.
Yep.
So prowl probably makes the most sense.
Okay, what are my values for this one?
You're in a controlled position because you're not really acting that suspiciously. It's easy to just pretend you're trying to find your way around, and standard effect.
Standard effect. And I don't have any bonus dice for that, so that's that.
Okay, that's a 4. Great. So that's a success at a cost, but it's a controlled position. So I think what happens is you successfully get a look around this back alleyway, but you don't get as thorough a look as you might have gotten because someone sort of peeks out the window and goes, "Who are you?" Which I think sort of probably fills you with due caution, and you sort of
rabbit in the headlights. Oh no!
Sorry, never mind. Carry on.
Sorry, bit lost.
But you get an idea of what's going on, even if you don't get all the information you might have wanted. And there is indeed, you kind of have an idea of what buildings are what, because they're all various heights. So this one is quite distinctive. It's one of the shorter ones on the street. And you kind of go, okay, well, this one's got the chimney on the back, so I know which one it is. There is indeed a rear door that leads into the alleyway.
So 2 doors, multiple windows, skylight at the top, possibly a connected attic space, but it'll be very small and hard to get through. No idea on a basement without getting in. Seems relatively simple. I can't get close enough to see if there's any locks or anything without being seen, so I think that's probably all I can really do for scouting it.
Okay. Hound, what have you been up to while this scouting is going on?
I have likely tailed Shadow to the entrance of the alley, if only to try and get a look of if there is anything in terms of a back door or backyard. Are there any high points that would get visibility of those spaces? Approaching this very much from a marksman's perspective, if I wanted to get high and keep eyes on the back door, where would I need to go?
So what you have, the back alley area is like the center of a horseshoe arrangement of buildings. So by a long way, because of the relative heights of the buildings, your actual best view of the rear exit would be a window of one of the buildings that faces the alleyway. But that would involve you getting into a building. That's a different question. But assuming you could do so in a way that was not too likely to garner attention, there are what's the word I'm looking for? The roofs are sort of tiered, so you could conceivably get onto a lower roof to get a halfway decent view.
Okay, second up, as I'm moving around the back of the building, I'm going to try and get an idea of roughly its dimensions. How much space is there on the inside?
On the inside of the Lamb and Sons?
Yes, just because I have ultimately I'll be going inside and I'm going to speak to the proprietor, and ultimately I want to get a rough mental map of how much of this is shop front, how much room is there around the back.
So although it's quite a narrow and quite short building, it does go quite deep into the alleyway. You haven't had a proper peer into the window, and actually, because of how busily the window is arranged, it's quite difficult to see into the shop through the windows. But based on how densely packed everything is, you would guess there's probably more behind the counter than in front of it, based on the depth of the building.
Okay. And then lastly, once I've reconvened with Shadow, I'll posit. I might go in and pretend I'm looking for curios, given there's a light on. See if I can drum up some kind of business. Not actually buy anything, but get an idea of who might be in there.
Now, I make a suggestion, Mr. Hound.
You may.
Take the mask off.
What's the plan?
People don't look very kindly when you go into shops with a mask on.
All right. So if I could have a bit of privacy to prepare.
You perform the magical transformation from gentleman stranger into just a bloke.
And I will swagger on into the shop.
You go in the shop. Bell rings as you go in. There's no one behind the counter, but you do hear someone calling, "One moment."
Of course. And I'll have a wee look around. I'm actually kind of going right up to the counter, looking over it, looking for any kind of basement doors, like trap doors, essentially. Trying to peer around, see if there's any stairs up, stairs down.
Behind the counter, there's a curtained archway. You can't see behind. Not long later, so just to paint a picture, the inside of the shop is just as densely and eclectically stocked as the window displays. There is this smell that you would call smoky and somewhat exotic. He does seem to have some incense smoking away in a corner, as one might expect from a shop of this kind. A very elderly man comes out. He's wearing a very busted up old, formerly velvet, formerly smoking jacket. Now just more or less a dressing gown, to be honest, on him. He's quite well wrapped up. It's very cold, and there's no heat on in here at all. Nothing of any kind. It appears you up and down. How can I help you?
Oh, good day. I must say this is quite the marvellous array. I'm visiting family in town. I was on a stroll and saw there was a light on. I didn't expect anyone to be open at this time of night.
Oh, well, we open early and late. Early bird gets the worm and all that.
Oh, how late would you be staying open typically?
Depends on whether I'm expecting. I've got regular clients who like to do business.
Well, I've left a good deal of my coin back of my lodgings, but I'm rather taken. He picks an item at random. By this old curio here. Would you mind if I have a look at that?
Ah, you're a connoisseur of the mysteries of the Orient, I see.
That I am.
Traded to me by a certain Manchurian mystic of my acquaintance.
Oh, how exciting!
Oh, yes. I myself am well versed in the mystical properties of the Far East.
Are you now?
Oh, yes. I'm a student of the mysteries of life, good sir, the mysteries of life. There is more things in heaven and earth, Macbeth, etc.
Quite so. My word, you seem quite an astounding and colourful fellow. You must be long-travelled and have gone all across this fair globe of ours.
Seen and done my fair share, sir. Seen and done my fair share.
Marvellous. So tell me more of this item.
Oh, I would love to, yes. This was, in fact, found upon the island of Hong Kong. It's believed to be over 1,000 years old. It was once, in fact, the possession of a court magician to Emperor Hongshu of the 5th Qin dynasty. And Emperor Hongshu, as you may know, sir, being a discerning student of the Orient, Emperor Hongshu was a magician who was responsible for, among other things, allegedly conjuring dragons from the spirit world.
I believe I've heard of Hongshu.
Of course you have, sir. Of course you have. Of course you have, sir.
My gosh. I don't suppose you could keep this little trinket aside for me. How much would it go for?
Well, ordinarily for some uneducated, unwashed stranger, beg your pardon, maybe £1, but I can see that you're something of a collector of curios, so perhaps I can let it go for a smaller consideration. Since you seem interested in my whole collection, perhaps maybe 4 shillings?
4 shillings? 4 shillings I can do. As I say, I'll need to return to my lodgings, but I can be there and back within an hour or so, I'd say.
Well, let me pop this behind the counter for you, sir, and may I say you've got a very discerning eye. I may have a few more trinkets for you to look at when you return. Give me a moment. I'll see if I can gather them up. But I'll let you get on with your business, sir. And
oh, certainly, certainly.
Maybe I should wait for my young apprentice. He knows where everything is far better than my old mind.
Are they here at present, or are they?
Oh, well, I don't like to boast. I'm something of a I made my way up from nothing, sir, as it were, and I like to make sure that every young person has a chance to really fulfill their true destiny. So I do take it upon myself. I do to make sure that young whippersnappers have a chance in life. I take on apprentices, make sure they're trained up in the ways of shopkeeping and whatnot, and pass them on to trusted businesses of my acquaintance and make their living.
I was thinking about taking on an apprentice myself, but I've never been too certain how many. Do you have many under your employ?
It's only a small shop, sir, only one at a time, but I do train them in a matter of a few months and make sure they're ready to make their way in the world.
Wonderful, wonderful. And you said you have more curios in the back?
I have most of my stock is visible for you to see, but I do have meticulous records.
Well then, let me make haste, because I do not want to keep you open any longer than you must. I'll return as soon as I am able.
Of course, sir. Of course. Well, I look forward to seeing you again, and perhaps even an ongoing business relationship, sir.
Forgive me, I did not catch your name. I presume, ma'am?
Sid Weller. Sid
Weller. Pleasure to meet you. Gregory Landlord.
Oh, Gregory Landlord. That's right. I'll see. Okay. Well, Mr. Landlord, I look forward to. You remind me of a pub owner I know by that name. He hates me. Very good, Mr. Landlord. Well, I look forward to seeing you later on.
And I look forward to seeing you. I dip my hat. See you later.
All right, lovely. It's gonna be a good night.
Oh my god.
The collar's up the moment I'm out of the shop, dip the hat down, and by the time I'm returning to where Shadow is, I'm just pulling that strip of fabric over my eyes.
Can I walk up at that time? Like, is it meant to?
Yes,
We just like found me still like chilling outside the shop, being like, "Oh, Hound's doing things."
I'm here. What do we need to do?
I think we've got everything covered. We've got. Come here, don't have that. We've got an idea of the inside now. He's going to be staying open for another hour or so, waiting for my good self to come back and procure a purchase. And he's got an apprentice coming in on site, so there'll be possibly one of the young'uns around later on.
Okay.
So yeah, he's expecting me. He'll be open for another hour. We can facilitate that in our plans as we see fit.
Sounds like a good shot. Let's get back to the pub then, shall we? Unless there's anything else
Totally.
we can do here. Kata, anything you want to do?
I actually would like to add. I want to see how busy the street is. Like, what kind of people are around if there are people.
There are still some people. There's a couple of people selling various things from carts. They've got a few customers, but it's getting towards that time of night where they're sort of keeping their eye on things, going, when's the time to just shut up and go home? You know?
Yeah. Okay. Cool. That's all I needed to know then.
Okay, so back at the Aventine, meanwhile, Messrs. Slide and Spider. Sounds like the worst lawyers firm ever.
Spider? No, it should be Spider and Slide.
Spider and Slide.
Spider and Slide, and our slogan is, trust us, we're definitely lawyers.
Absolutely. So what have you been up to at the Aventine?
We have been, not casing, that's the wrong word. Canvassing, trying to find out, if not what anyone knows about Mr. Weller, of which Mr. Sly's primary concern, if it's not anything useful about how to get closer to him and kill him, is tales regarding the beguilement that he does with the words, as that's a concern. And if not, just long-term kind of, what is this place? What are these people like? Blah, blah, blah.
Okay, well, we'll go ahead and you can do some sort of action to try and get that info, whatever you think might work. It could be a consort, perhaps, might be a sway.
I can do either. They're the same for me. So
it sounds a bit more consorted to me.
It does. No, consort is good. Controlled consort.
I'm gonna say people are pretty guarded here, so I'm gonna say
Risky.
No, I'm gonna say controlled but reduced effect. Because there's no danger in asking them, but they're not, people don't tend to give much away here. So yeah.
Yes. And certainly, yeah. I was going to add more detail than is strictly necessary. So limited effect.
Yeah.
Let's see. No bonus dice. Ooh, a 6.
Good. Okay. A 6 limited effect. So there's only so much that people know about Weller. Essentially, the first few people you kind of, because this is a 6, I'm going to say you just, and it's controlled, you just smoothly navigate the conversation. No one will remember that you brought Weller up. You make it so unclear that you're remotely interested. So it's perfectly done. There's no chance that anyone will ever think, my God, that man was asking. Now Weller's dead. But you are able to confirm from people's discomfort, Weller is not welcome here. There are people who find the name repulsive.
Mm-hmm.
You get the impression no one uses the words you're looking for exactly, but it is very clear to you that he does the kind of business that polite society does not mention. And it's also very clear to you that he hasn't been here for years. And landlord won't have him.
Yeah, so I take it they don't have much of a practical knowledge of the things that he does then.
No. This is a name that is whispered when you want to talk about some shit on the bottom of your shoe. It's not something you know about in great detail.
Though, do they have any? Sorry, Izzy, were you about to pipe up?
Go on. I thought you were gone.
Do they have any information, any even tales about his Wuji magic bullshit? Or is it just as Madam Whisper said, he says things and it's beguiling?
You hear the sort of language where they talk about him. He's called a crafty old snake. Like they'll talk about him like how he can. You do definitely find out that he can always talk himself out of trouble.
Wow.
And this conversation concludes where someone pointed to the landlord and said, "Didn't work on him though."
Of course
And
not.
then
Every
the
landlord.
laughs and goes, "Yeah, nothing works on him."
Interesting.
While Slide is going around talking to people, I would like to make are these checks or rolls? How would I define? Is it a check?
A check is fine. A roll.
I'd like to do a study check on the Aventine.
Okay.
I think that Mr. Spider is going to turn in his seat, sipping his wine, and very sincerely would like to get the lay of the place.
So okay, make a roll then, and I'll give you a number of questions you can ask as a result of that roll.
Lovely, lovely.
Survey or study would work.
Study, yeah. Go away.
I think study is going to be more something like a particular aspect of the Aventine has caught your eye and you're looking at it. Survey is more the entire place.
Okay.
But at less detail.
What's the deal? Position.
Control position. There's no risk to doing this in standard effect.
That's 6.
Lovely, great. Okay, so ask me 3 questions.
Okay.
I'll answer them to the best of the information available.
So, given the nature of the clientele here, and the fact that Spider can see Slide moving through them as a stranger, what is the receptiveness of the people here to conversation compared to, we were told this is a place where all people go and it's full of great secrets and like, how does it compare to a regular pub? Yeah.
Like any pub with enough patrons in it, there are tables that are being more festive and there are tables that are being more cagey and private. Slide doesn't seem to have any problem getting polite, Slide seems to have the instincts not to approach the tables that are obviously down like this, having a very Slide isn't socially inept. He is not going up to them and going, "Hello, secretive people, might I interrogate you, please?" So yeah, it's not that much different. You wouldn't if you hadn't been told that this was a pub where wizards hang out, you wouldn't have any reason looking at everyone to think that any of them were anything out of the ordinary.
So no one else is here in full masked getup?
No one is, and no one seems to mind that Mr. Slide is either.
The staff who work here.
Zombies to a man.
Okay. What's their deal? Because this is a mysterious place, which means that they're not just hiring any old bar staff. Do they seem particularly shrewd or sharp compared to the other sorts of bar staff?
The honest answer is what they seem is extraordinarily busy.
Busier than the busyness of the pub would entail?
No.
They're not implying that there are many more rooms that we can't see. They're also full of.
No, that's a good question. You do see them carrying trays of drinks into other doors. Yes, there are rooms beyond this one. The main common room.
And is there anything that Mr. Spider can see that would indicate to him anything of the discussions of this being effectively a magic pub? Decoration wise, is there anything that stands out? Is there anything in the clientele, in the people, in the staff that procs? I mean, he's not a studier of the occult, but studier of symbols or symbology.
No, I don't think there is.
Very suspicious.
To answer a question in the chat, you can use normal helps and hinders if you like. I will try to instantiate them as best I can. At some point, I think soon, they're going to be going on their actual hunt, so that will be a great time for helps and hinders. There is a special helps and hinders thing coming up, and we will be announcing that after the episode is done. I will talk to you all about that. It's very exciting, this new thing. But yeah, normal helps and hinders are absolutely welcome if you've got them. Just make sure you say in the chat if you're doing them, because I have no way of knowing otherwise, because I'm inept.
Help them if you got them.
hinder 'em if you kinder 'em. I don't know. Okay, I think by the time Slide has made his way smoothly around the bar looking for stories and Spider has scoped the room out, Hound, Shadow, and Cutter can return as discreetly as they like and retake their seats with their these comrades they've never met before.
I feel like at one point you'll just turn around and Mr. Cutter will just be there.
You go to come back to the table and we're already sitting there like, what do you saw?
All right.
Good evening. How did it go?
Pretty well.
Was it a
Quite a lot.
lovely bracing walk?
Mr.
was.
Hound may have got us an inn.
Yeah, so he's keeping his shop open for the next hour. I met the gentleman himself. He's under the impression that I myself will be going back to purchase a curio, not as this, but that we'll be going back at some point, buying a little thing. He said he's going to get some more merchandise out for my discerning eye. And by the time I get back, one of his young apprentices will be around. We also have a bit more of an idea of, give me 1 second, and he'll find something from which to scroll, even if that's just swiping water on the table itself, to give a kind of rough approximation of the building, how much he can ascertain is the front, the curtain, and give rough indications of size in relation to distance between other buildings in the alleyway, the number of entrances to the building that we were able to see. I imagine that information will come from the Shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Shadow
then
will be
I
joining in, drawing.
Yeah, and then I'll put like there are people on this side, but they should be gone by the time we get there. They were closing up shop.
And just quietly sit and flex.
So I think we've reached it seems to me, correct me if I'm wrong, as though we have reached the end of gathering information and the time has come to conduct the score. Which means I must ask you to collectively decide what your approach to the score.
Give us our options.
You have many, many options.
Give us some of the options.
Well, the options are assault. You do violence to the target. Deception. You lure, trick, or manipulate. That's probably not going to kill anyone. Trespass unseen with stealth. Engage a supernatural power with occult. He's not a supernatural power. Social, to negotiate, bargain, or persuade. Or carry cargo or people through danger with transport. Realistically, it's an assault or a stealth.
Mm-hmm.
It's an assault, really, but
it's an assault whether we call it that or not with a capital A. It's an assault.
It's an assassination with or without an unseen bonus.
Yeah,
We're doing a murder.
We're gonna go and do a heckin' big murder.
Absolutely. The difference between a stealth and assault in this instance, as far as I'm going to interpret, is a stealth is you're going to try to get in via anything other than the front door, and an assault is you're going to go in via the front door. And to be mechanically explicit, a stealth is going to be harder for you because of the aforementioned protections that this appalling gentleman has installed. But that is not me telling you not to do it. I do not want you to think that at all.
Given Hound's intentions to go and speak to him directly, does this mean that we're really going for assault?
That's what it sounds like to me.
That's what I was thinking.
You've done your work of getting an inn. Well, the inn doesn't matter since you're going in as a stranger, but you know the shop will be open. You know that he will be.
We have set up the target, so to speak.
Yes, you have indeed. So I think all I need to know from you is, well, I was going to say, what's the point of attack? But I think you've already covered that pretty clearly.
Through the front door.
The only question I have for you is, where will everyone be at the moment of engagement? How many of you are you showing up in force? to put this bastard down, or is there something different going on?
Is it getting too complicated if I suggest that Hound brings Slide, mostly just so that we can go, he's here, he's in the front, you can maybe see him through the window, and then other people kick down the front door to help with the...
Yeah, the point of setup, what I really want to know is when we engage, who is at the front door and who is waiting for the go signal elsewhere. That's all I need to know.
I want to wait for the go signal elsewhere.
Okay. So Hound and Slide are going to be there.
If Hound's amenable to that, but I'm just operating off as the talky person, I might be more likely to keep bluffing him in place.
So it sounds to me as though we have a help and a hinder, a minor help and a minor hinder already in play. I'm not going to bring those about for the engagement roll, because I think the engagement roll is a bit more significant than a normal roll, but I will cash them in when you make any rolls during the score. So it sounds to me as though I need to make an engagement roll.
That's what that means.
Break time for an anxiety pee.
I think a break wouldn't actually be the worst idea in all the world. We are coming up on a couple of hours.
Do you want to...
So you're ready to go. I'll make the engagement roll when we come back. I might make it while we're down so I can think about what it means, but I don't.
Or roll it now, because then it's
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know what? Let's roll it now, and then you can spend your break anxiously going, "Oh, I wish he hadn't rolled that badly." Roll engagement. Here we go. So, number of dice. You get 1 for sheer dumb luck. You are... What else have you done? It's particularly bold or daring. Yeah, you're going in the front door. So I think that is definitely bold or daring. You have... you're not going to lose a die because you're not trying to sneak in past a warded area. You're going right in the front door. I think that's 2 dice. Let me just make sure. I've only done this a couple of times before. You did that. I think that's how that's executed anyway. Ooh, interesting. I'm going to take -1 die.
No.
For a reason you don't know.
Meh.
Oh, no.
Actually, am I?
No.
Sounds ominous. Do it.
I like it.
Yeah. I think I'm not going to. So that's 2 dice. That's fine. He's not really you're a tier 0, like you're nobody, but he's not really anyone either. So I'm not going to penalize you for going against a higher tier target because he really isn't. It's not, yeah, I think that's it. I think 2 dice. Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability target, hit them where they're weakest?
He's old and frail.
In the face.
He's weakest everywhere.
I
He's
mean-
old and frail.
I mean, he's old and frail, and you've got 5 of you ready to go through the only entrance available. So yeah, have a 3rd die.
Woohoo!
So I'm gonna roll three engagement dice,
The gentleman strangers beating up the elderly.
Hey.
That's a 1.
and we got a 5 on engagement. Success at a cost.
Wait,
Aw.
cheering.
So
This is where we were last time.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
true.
Well, doing very well, and then we got to the canal and it all went wrong. So
I'm going to give an idea for helps and hinders just for the chat so they can muse on it before we go into the score. Minor helps and hinders. There are 2 things I'm going to do really with a minor help. I'm going to give them an extra die on a roll, or I'm going to increase the effect on the roll. And which decision I make on that will probably depend on the exact circumstances. Obviously, if something's already controlled, I'll just give them an extra die. For a minor hinder, I'm either going to reduce the effect of the roll, or if there's a consequence, it'll be a slightly worse consequence. That's really with minor and major. Minor helps and hinders. So have a think about that. Hinder, Kinder, and Aid Brigade while we take a break. 15-minute break so we can get a drink and kind of have a rest. And for those of us enduring the tail end of a heat wave, maybe just stand in front of a fan for a bit. So we will be back at 10 past the hour, whatever the hour is, wherever you are. It's going to be 6 p.m. here, but whatever it is there. 15 minutes, my dear ones, and we shall see you then.
Bye.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, he pushed the button. He didn't count us in.
did.
Right?
I didn't.
Okay.
He
So
just went ahead and pushed it.
You can do ABCs.
You can't
Oh,
just.
okay.
We discovered that ABCs doesn't set anything off, but
Hi
like,
everyone, we're back. Lovely to see you. Hope you had a magnificent break.
Okay.
We did.
I realize now a lot of the mechanics of this game are based on clocks slowly filling themselves in. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, because it's not like we can talk about it later. But
Okay, fine. So we've rolled engagement. There are the opening situation with the engagement is more or less completely successful. Here are the risk factors. There are still people on the street outside, not many, but there is still someone trying to get rid of the flowers before they become no good. And I am going to start a 6-segment clock called Someone Calls for Help. I am not filling in any segments, however, but the clock exists. As I understand it, we had a bit of a change of situations during the break, and as I understand it, Hound, Slide, and Cutter are walking into the shop with Shadow and Spider waiting nearby for a signal.
At what point do we figure out our load? Sorry.
Now you should figure out your load. Remember,
Wonderful.
you get 2 free load for vigilante attire.
Oh, neat.
You don't remember. You don't pick items. You just determine how much load you have.
So when you say 2 free load, that means that like if we go light, we actually have 5 load.
That is correct. Yes.
Oh, sweet.
so if you go normal, no, I'm gonna just go no. Normal? What does that look like? Does it look like you're carrying
Normal
stuff?
looks bulky. Normal looks slightly bulky, like you're kitted out. Like unless you're planning on manifesting bulletproof armor and rifles, normal load is possibly a little excessive.
Okay.
Well, considering we get 5, I'm happy with light.
Mm-hmm. And then you do it as things happen.
It's like you dramatically reveal, I had a cane sword all along.
Yeah. I'm gonna make sure I have a bag with me. That's the only thing I'm calling in advance, so I can fill it with stuff.
Okay.
Okay. You walk in. Just as when you went in before Hound, there's no one behind the counter, but the bell rings as you enter. And Weller comes out, and he is holding. He's sort of walking quite carefully, and he's holding in both hands this orb. It's kind of made of a sort of golden ceramic material. It's got a pearlescent sheen over it. It is seemingly glowing as if from its own light, its own internal light source. He's looking down and he says, "Oh, gentlemen, you've arrived early. You'll have to tell Sajid." Oh, fuck.
Mr. Weller!
Oh, fuck
And
indeed,
Mr.
sir.
Weller looks down at the orb, looks up at you, and raises the orb up and starts speaking mystical words. I'm sure some of you have a response to this.
Cutter?
I don't want him to be speaking mystical words in my presence, Luke.
Okay. Well, then you've got some choices to make. How are you going to stop him doing that?
That's a great question. I'm going to go for his feet.
Can I assist on combat rolls? Is that a thing you can do?
Yeah, you can describe how you help his feet.
Well, like he's standing, right? And he's old.
He's behind the counter.
Oh, never mind. That doesn't work at all. Okay.
Stab him in his face.
Yeah,
Stab
can
him.
I just leap over the counter and like go for the knock the orb out of his hand somehow with a cool weapon?
Yes.
Cut off his hands? That's a little much. Maybe not that.
I
just want.
What would you like to achieve, Bree?
I want to knock the thing out of his hands. If I could kill him at the same time, that would be real efficient. But I just panic or
you're going to go for knocking the thing out of his hands. Decide how you're going to do that. It sounds like wreck to me, possibly. Skirmish, maybe.
Do I need to spend stress to assist?
You need to spend 1 stress to assist. How are you assisting?
I'm possibly pondering how worth it. Would you like that extra die, Bree?
Okay.
Would you like it?
I think I want to go with skirmish because
So
it's
for skirmish,
close combat.
Yes. For skirmish, he's okay, fine.
Because I'm like scrambling over the counter to get to him.
No, I get it. It could work. It could work either way.
And how do I use my special ability? Because I could do that.
What is your special ability?
It's called Savage. When you unleash physical violence, it's especially frightening. When you command a frightened target.
Yeah. So what you do is you're going to try and knock the orb out of his hands, and then if you want, then command him. It'll have whatever it says, better effect, I assume.
Oh, it's 2 different actions.
Yes, it is.
Okay, I'm gonna do the skirmish then.
Do you want the extra die, Bree?
Yes. How can
Okay.
you help me?
Don't forget, if you want to, we've got stress and stuff.
Yes. Yeah, but this way's cheaper. Essentially, what Mr. Slide is going to do, he is going to pop his because he's holding his cane. He's going to pop out the cane sword blade, and essentially, it's going to be a distracting flourish because he figures that he is a more obvious target than our tiny murder cutter.
Okay. I like that. So yes, spend a stress, and Cutter, you can have an extra die.
Cane sword because they're cool.
Okay. Okay. So I push skirmish. What is our position here?
He does not have anything approaching a weapon at the ready. It's controlled.
Okay.
With standard effect.
Standard effect, and then I get just the 1 bonus dice.
Yep.
Stress. I hope this works. Okay. Did it work? Oh, I got a 6.
Very nice. Okay. So yeah, I think you leap forward, and you just knock his fragile old hands, and the orb just slips out, and it lands strangely, like it falls on the floor and just stops. It doesn't bounce. It doesn't roll. It just goes, tonk, barely makes a sound.
I have some concerns.
Yeah.
And he sort of goes, no, please, whoever's done this has lied to you. I respond.
Of course he would. Then I'm gonna. Oh, but she said not to let him talk, right?
She did heavily imply that, yes.
So I don't want him to talk. Is there a way I can like just? Is there a wall I can put my hands on his old man face so he can't talk?
You can you can just kill him.
Kill him or break his jaw. Do one of those.
He won't talk if he's dead, probably. I mean, who knows? So you're gonna smash his face against the wall.
I feel like the way this is set up, it was too easy, and now I feel trapped. Like it was a mistake all along.
I'm not trapping you. I'm not trapping you. You can do what you like.
You can say that, but okay.
If it's a trap, it's fun if we just murder his ass and deal with the problem later.
I mean, like, I came in here to murder a guy trafficking children.
Yep.
I feel.
Do it, Bree. Do it.
Yeah. Okay, then I'm gonna stop him from talking and knife in the heart. Just.
Okay, that sounds very clearly like wreck to me. Unless you've got a case for skirmish. Although we really need to get into the habit of me not telling you what actions to roll. That really winds me up.
Because I'm in close combat.
I'm afraid
I'm assaulting and holding a position. Like that's why
I'm afraid to say, Mr. Cutter, only the most sociopathic individual would call what's happening here combat. You are beating to death an old man who is not fighting back, which is why I'm saying it's probably wreck.
Okay.
But, skirmish would have a different effect. You can absolutely roll skirmish, but it's a different action.
Oh, well, we're here to murder a weirdo, so...
Choke him to death. That sounds kind of more skirmishy if you've got some cool martial arts shit in there.
She did say she wanted him to suffer a bit, though.
I mean, strangulation's pretty high up there on the suffering level. Knife to the heart isn't. Just saying.
I'm gonna push Free, whatever you do, it won't be wrong.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, don't
awesome.
think like that. You need to act boldly and quickly.
Okay. Yeah. No, we're here to do a murder. I'm gonna do a murder. So if that's wreck, then that's wreck.
I think it sounds like your description of the action is punch stab, which is not fighting. That's assaulting. That's
okay. Okay.
Using
so what is
physical might to achieve a situation.
So what is my position?
He's not fighting back, so it's controlled, and it's increased effect because he's 80.
So great effect, right? Is it... Why is it not updating for me? I pushed it. What happened? Oh no, I didn't. Bonus dice? No dice?
Not unless you want to spend some stress or do a devil's bargain.
I think we'll just see how this goes.
Oh. Ooh, a 6.
Yeah.
His neck snaps. Crack. In fact, the only thing still holding him up is your hand pushing his head against the wall. You feel him go limp. He's so teeny. He weighs nothing.
Why are you doing this to me?
Well, you're the one murdering my NPC. What have I got to do with it?
Yeah, Mr. Slider's got to go sheet white at that noise. Like, he's got a flurry and then it's just like...
Crack. And you're still holding him up against the wall.
I'm going to step away.
He just folds up on the floor.
And step around the thing. And this was all a lot, all at once. And...
Congratulations, Mr. Cutter. You're a killer.
I draw my pistols and I start moving towards the back. I step over him. There isn't that much, like, there is a little bit of a look, but Hound's purpose now is he knows there's someone else in the building. Someone else might have heard that. They might still be in danger. And so he's going to basically get ready and check behind the curtain.
Okay. You can get behind the curtain quite easily. It's kind of dark back here. There's some narrow set of stairs leading up.
I don't want to detract from the momentum of those two dealing with that. If that's something they want to spend more time with.
I'll just say your choices for exploration are up the stairs, or there is also a door.
I will call back. We know there's someone else going to be in here. We've got upstairs. We've got a door. What do you fancy?
It's probably going to be a child with children who need rescuing. If there's only two, then we should stick together.
Right, you are. Let's do the door.
Yes, come on, Carter.
Okay. So you go through the door. It seems to be it's a stock room. You can see various sort of straw-filled boxes that haven't, wooden crates, I mean, that are nailed shut that haven't even opened. You can see you can see shelves filled with ledgers, and there's a strong box. And you can see the back door out is locked and bolted.
No sacrificial urchins in here. Turn around.
No, precisely 0 sacrificial urchins.
Said someone else was coming, so whatever we're doing, it needs to be fast. The next room. Okay,
so you head up the stairs.
Mm-hmm. Now that he has a job, Slide is like mechanically just
up the stairs. You there's a locked door.
Slide really unhelpfully tries it. It doesn't, and then as if this will help, he just kind of goes because he's.
Can I kick it in?
You absolutely may.
What is that? Wrecking? Can I wreck the door?
Normally wrecking.
I'm gonna wreck the door.
You could. Yeah. I think it's wrecking. It'd be more finesse if you were trying to. I don't know how you'd use finesse in this situation except to pick the lock.
Our shadow's not here, and we didn't send a signal, and this is all a lot, all at once. Controlled.
It's risky because it'll make noise. Standard effect.
Uh-oh. Where is what was the signal we were gonna send?
I'm sure the signal is whatever we flashback need it to be.
Maybe because I don't want to make noise.
I managed to miss this bit of planning. Why were we to be called on the
it was like signal? In case we need a backup. So if we have a signal, we have a signal. It'll be even if it's just like someone goes to the door and just like tips their friggin' hat or something. Like there are
I
things
think
that we can
signal
do.
needs to happen because he's dead now. And
Slide
now
will
things-
go down. If Carter kind of looks at it and goes, that's not a thing I can break, then Slide will obey and go down and go to the door and touch his hat in the window.
Spider and Shadow have been waiting outside.
Mhm.
How is the street looking for quietness?
Much as it
Say-
was when I described it previously, there's a couple of people on. It's a street people walk on. They live here.
Go ahead, I'll be right with you.
I'm going to kill all the witnesses.
I'm just going to make sure no one can see what we're doing. Blind them.
Yeah, Shadow appears in the shop. Do they immediately see the dead guy on the floor?
As soon as you pass the counter, there is a dead guy and an odd orb.
There's a locked door upstairs.
Oh, right.
Carter would appreciate your professional assistance.
Sure.
That Slide just kind of stares at the body.
Mr. Slide.
Hmm?
Could you keep an eye on the back door, Mr. Slide? I'm a bit
Yes,
nervous of someone trying
very
to come in
good.
that way.
That's what I'll do.
Mr. Spider is going to come in. Is the door on a bell?
Yes.
He is going to go to close the front door, and in doing so, reach up and hold onto the bell so it doesn't jingle as he closes the door.
Mhm.
And then he's going to latch it.
Lovely.
Is there a nice little closed open sign we can just turn around and be like, he's closed now, I'm sorry.
Yeah, they can be. No problem.
Yay. Okay, cool.
Okay, so Mr. Shadow is going to go and try and finesse the lock, or I think tinker the lock. Actually.
Tinker the lock, yes.
I'm going to cash in a minor hinder for this. And that hinder is going to be greater consequences for failure.
Cool, this is getting some stress then.
So
real stress? You're getting real stressed here.
it is risky with standard effect.
And 1 extra dice. Because I put in 2 stress. Risky, standard effect. 1 extra dice.
And what I'm going to do, because they do separate things, is I am going to give you a minor help for an extra die.
Alrighty.
So we'll see whether fate is on the side of the Hinderkind or the Aid Brigade this day. And then I've got another minor hinder to use from the Model Railway Man.
I got a 5.
Got a 5. That is success at a cost. That is success at an increased cost.
Yep.
So you successfully managed to get the levers of the lock open. But as you withdraw your tools from inside the lock, you see that for some reason inside the lock, there's light coming from inside the lock. And you hear, and Spider, you hear it. There's a decorative skull on one of the shelves, and it starts caterwauling. It issues this bloody scream. I'm going to tick up the someone gets help clock by 3.
This skull is in the shop downstairs where...
It screams once and then falls silent.
In my defense, I'm not used to this whole magic thing yet. Didn't know that was going to happen. Right. So, Cutter, you going through this door first? Have at. It's open.
Okay, I enter the door.
Noted, Model Railway Man. It's a help, not a hinder. I will remember that. Wait a second. You cashed in a help, not a... I know you cashed in a help. Lou cashed in a hinder earlier. I know what I'm doing, vaguely, most of the time. You go in. There's it's essentially a studio flat. There's a bed, and you can actually see on the far side of the room there is a sort of I guess you'd say like an alcove in one of the walls, and in it is a cot, like a small bed where there is a child sleeping.
Oh, it didn't get woken up by the scream?
Screaming was where I am.
It does not seem to have been woken up by the screaming.
Oh, okay. Slightly maternal instinct kicks in because this poor child is back here. Is that anything else in the room? Just the.
This is just the guy's. This is just the guy's flat.
Okay,
There's a small coal stove, which serves as both the heating and the cooking.
Okay, I'm gonna go to the child.
Mhm.
And hey,
Hmm?
you need to wake up.
What is it, Mr. Weller?
Oh no, not Mr. Weller.
Oh. Mr. Weller!
No.
Mr. Weller, help!
Oi, kid. Shut up. Thanks. That makes life a lot easier. So, who the hell are you? Yeah, you. Okay, you can unshut up now, just as long as you don't start screaming again.
I'm Kit Pearson. I'm the apprentice.
Right. You ever noticed anything weird going on in this shop?
Well, we sell all sorts of tat.
No, like weird. Like spooky people arriving at weird hours, that kind of shit.
No. Well, you.
Fair. Right. I'm gonna go and do my job downstairs. I think this is a slide or spider problem. I'll go get them.
Spiders?
Mr. Slide?
Slide looks like he's probably had a heart attack after that skull started screaming near him at the back door.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
Mr.
the
Spider,
shadow
by the way, won't be available for such things because he had literally ransacking the front of the shop in the quickest, calmest way possible for money, paperwork, objet.
Yeah.
I do have one more thing that I would like to do then. If Shadow's stepping out, I would like to like get pour like a little cup of water or something and give it to the kid and be like, you're going to need this. Just deep breaths.
So Shadow gets like partway down the stairs and just goes, Mr. Slide, how good are you with kids?
Oh, the apprentice is upstairs.
Doesn't seem to be particularly traumatized. I mean, except now when they are.
What if
They're scared of us.
We did it.
I'll go try to.
Yeah.
There's a lockbox in the back in the side door there. I'll deal with the child. Deal with the child. It's be fine. We just murdered your employer. Deal with the child.
For the record, is there like a rug, a carpet on the floor somewhere, or rolled up in a corner? I need something to roll a body into.
Yeah, there absolutely can be.
Also,
I'm sure he has a magic flying carpet from Arabia or something.
That's exact. I'm bodying that. Roll that up. I've got some rope in one of my kits that I have specific load on, and so I'm just going to be like, I've got one pistol near me, the other one stashed, and I'm just going to be tying up this body in this carpet for transportation.
And if Slide is chuntering while going upstairs, Spider will lean around the door and go, I wouldn't open with that.
Top
I'm
five,
sorry, that was
Mr.
such
Spider.
a good one.
Okay, Mr. Slide, you're heading up to the flat to persuade this kid that you're not here for any sinister reason. Okay.
Slide will kind of stop outside the door a moment. Step in. He will remove his hat, but not the mask, but it makes him look like slightly less of a terrifying silhouette. Hello, my associate.
I knew nothing to no one.
No, I'm sure you didn't, my good boy. So they call me Slide. What's your name?
Kit Pearson.
Kit. Wander in, kind of find somewhere to sit, if not just like sink onto his haunches to be more of a height with Kit.
Please, sir, I really need this apprenticeship. My sister's sick.
I'm terribly sorry to hear that, Kit. It's a right rotten business, but this is going to be difficult, probably for you to believe. But Mr. Weller was absolutely a ne'er-do-well, and he would have hurt you there would have been no good apprenticeship in this for you.
Mr. Weller? But I think you got that wrong, mister. He's a nice old bloke. Good sort.
Sometimes people can seem like that, but appearances can be deceiving. And I know that you've got no real...
He's the
reason-
only one who ever gave me more than a penny for a day's work.
I am sorry about that, kid, but certainly I think that we have a bit of a sense of responsibility to you. And whilst I would ask you to join us, get away from this place, because frankly, we're the people who can help you with what comes next. Otherwise, this apprenticeship is gone, and then I fear you don't have many other options. But you have my word, as a gentleman, that we aren't going to hurt you and we want what's best for you. And if you can agree to be a good chap and help along, I think that we can help each other. What do you say, kid? We'll extend his hand. Like a shake.
You promise you'll find me something?
You have my word, kid. He will spit into his own hand, shake the boy's hand.
Okay, mister.
Mr. Howard, can you make sure we're all clean?
Mr. Weller, or will you?
Sorry?
Do I have to tell Mr. Weller I quit, or do you?
We'll deal with all of that. Don't worry. Mr. Hound, is everything tidy downstairs?
1 second. Just kind of tuck the old man's head a little bit more into the carpet, haul it over my shoulder. Yeah, I reckon we are.
And at some point, Slide will chit chat, but eventually lead Kit on down.
Okay, let's do a bit of time when we go back a few minutes to Mr. Shadow, who I think was going to make some sort of attempt on the integrity of the strongbox.
That was my plan.
I love how you can probably tell the alignment of the chat, and I include Kath in this, based on whether they hate the child or would die for the child.
I don't hate the child. I just think he's a demon.
I'm very concerned about the things that the child is saying.
I will admit, the evidence is overwhelming for this child being a demon. Wait.
Yeah,
No,
sorry,
that
the
other
other
thing.
thing.
I think I speak for me and Bree completely when we say we would take a bullet for Kit.
Yes. Yes.
Poor Kit.
Can I join this team? Is there room on this team for me?
Welcome to Team Would Take a Bullet for Kit.
Yay!
So you
There
are
we
you go to the back room where Hound is doing some upholstery. Best not peer too closely at that.
Won't.
And there is, as I say, you've got shelves and shelves of ledgers, and nestled in between them is this strongbox.
Okay, strongbox first, and then if I've got time, I'll go for the ledgers. Because if he's got a list of weird clients, they'll probably be in the strongbox.
So I don't want to stay your hand any, but you know that Mr. Spider has been looking for paperwork. Like that's a thing
Oh, yeah.
that he's not been secret about doing.
Mr. Spider, found some
Spider.
ledgers. Okay. I guess I will roll it. I'm assuming the strongbox is locked.
The strongbox is indeed locked. There was
Okay.
a key on a ring on the body, but I think I don't want to rob you of your chance to pick the lock. So
I mean, I'd have to undo all of Hound's hard work, or I could flash back to Hound going, this appears to be a key.
like, I'm happy for you to do that trivial flashback.
Okay.
Let's get the key.
Thanks, Hound. That's very nice of you.
You actually noticed that the stem of the key has been crudely carved with strange sort of runes.
How strange.
Hmm.
I don't know how strange runes get. So they're strange in that you don't know what they are, but they're not so strange that they're animated or glowing.
That was kind of what I was going for.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, that's
After the
reasonable.
screaming skull, I was like, I don't know what's
no.
going on here anymore.
No. They're runes they're runes of a Germanic style. I think runes are by definition carved very crudely into the stem of the key.
I really hope that's not some kind of password. Click. I'm assuming it goes click.
Yep.
Does it go?
You turn the key in the lock, and there's a brief flash of that same light that was in the door. But the key's runes glow with the same light, and it opens without any issue.
Keep this.
And within the box is a pouch containing some cash, some coins, equal to 2 coin. It's a good week's takings probably for a shop that's doing well for itself.
Getting ever more concerned, Shadow will take the money. Ask Spider if in the last few seconds that it took me to unlock the box, whether he's found anything. Is the next step. Like, Mr. Spider, have you found anything? Interesting?
How much and heavy are the ledgers?
They seem to be the spines of them are hand labeled, and they're labeled for month and year. These ledgers seem to go back about 5 years. I'm starting a clock. This clock has 4 segments, and it's they show up. And I'm putting a segment in the clock.
The ledgers are basically swept into the satchel he brought for the purposes of ransacking for paperwork, along with any paperwork he found in the front shop and the orb.
What do you take of ledgers? Do you take the recent one? They're huge things, so like it's really one. Well, each one is a load. Each one is one load, so you can decide how many to take.
We can all help then.
Yeah,
that's what we came for, right?
Yeah, we came for the information. So.
Shadow had a bag.
Shadow has a bag.
So, Mr. Spider is going to say,
"Can we get 3 of them in there?"
There's far too much to go through at the moment, but yes, if we can take them with us, I'd love to go through them. We should head out. What's in the chest?
Money.
Anything else?
Can I poke at the chest?
There's no
false bottoms or anything.
No notes or receipts or anything like that.
Nothing else. You got the orb, right?
Yes. Spider is going to therefore then dash up the stairs, probably realigning the timeline, to stand in the doorway and say, "We should be heading off, chaps."
Very good.
Kit, good day.
Yes, this is young Kit. Young Kit, this is Mr. Spider. Kit's going to accompany us and make sure that
you meant like an actual spider.
Oh no,
terribly sorry.
Simply a gentleman. Kit, I wondered if very quickly you could tell me if your Mr.
Mr. Weller.
If your Mr. Weller ever kept any papers or things in a place that wasn't the front counter or his or his desk at the back. In here, perhaps?
He used to every Friday. He used to close the shop at lunchtime, and he'd head down to the bank where he had I know he had a box or something where he put certain papers. I wasn't allowed to look at those ones.
Do you know if he had a key or something that he took with him?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
No, it's quite all right. Smart chap, you've done your best. Anyway, let's get you out of here and get you a nice hot sticky bun.
All right, not a bad day. All in all, lost my job. Hot sticky bun, no problem. Moving the clock up. One is now 2 out of 4. They arrived.
Did anybody tell either Shadow or Spider about how he seemed to be expecting someone who wasn't us?
Nope, Slide's completely lost his friggin' freaked out at the murder. So
no, I did say after you got there. I did say.
By the way, generally speaking, when you do gather information, I assume that everything is shared with everyone unless I'm told otherwise. Because you've basically got flexi time to tell everyone everything.
All right. If everyone could grab some of the books that are downstairs. Spider wants to get some of them out. So
grab a book on your way out, and we shall rendezvous back at our location. But we really must be going.
Tip top.
Good luck, Slide. Kind of nodding at the child.
Where's that skull? What screamed?
Oh, that's a good idea.
Sitting on the shelf.
I left it. I don't want a screaming skull. It'll scream.
Okay.
Does it scream when it's picked up?
I don't know. Let's go.
I'm picking it up. I want this.
I have as much information as you do.
Is that you picking it up?
I'm picking the skull up.
Okay, the skull is seemingly adhered to the shelf.
How strong is Hound? Does the whole shelf just...
If I can't shift it, I'm going.
We're
But
going out the back.
Huh.
Going out
Yeah,
the
right.
back.
Leaving.
Off we go.
Okay.
I'm probably just going to take the strong box unless it's stupidly heavy.
Look, money.
The strong box itself is 1 load.
Oh,
I have
Okay.
body,
cool.
which I imagine is a load.
At least.
The body is 2 load.
Oh, jeez.
Actually, no. A human body wrapped in a rug is 3 load. I mean,
Oh, gosh.
heavy armor is 3 load. I think it might be 5. But yeah, I think a body is going to be 3 load. I might be being too generous there. But
He's not a big man. Wasn't.
he was a
He's a tiny, frail
very
man.
fragile old man you murdered.
Thanks, guys.
We all murdered him.
We all
Yeah.
murdered him.
Fucking children. Don't feel sorry. Don't let me make you feel sorry for him.
Look, no. You know what?
No,
I
he
did
was-
it, and I'm gonna own it.
He was
you
selling
should own it.
children,
Murdered the
selling children
murderer.
to be murdered.
Look,
So
also,
you
children
know,
to murder.
Two
So
things
fuck
to
him.
say. On one hand, this was a group effort. We all did it. You just happened to be the implement of this group's violence. But, like, we're all complicit in it. And 2, I don't imagine the people we murder are going to get less unambiguously monstrous going forward. They're not all going to be child slavers. Some of them are going to be perfectly nice, but also eat people on weekends. And we're just going to have to get used to the fact that we need to kill them all.
Thank you. That's the pep talk I needed.
Also, to be honest, a lot of it is going to be you're going to be killing things because of what they are, not because of what they do.
Okay. Well.
yay, we're the
There.
heroes.
Come along,
If
kid.
you
We're
were to be-
abducting
if
you
wanted
into the
to be
night.
heroes, you
Just
shouldn't
come on,
have
kids.
been
We're just going to
made
abduct a
up.
child.
No, we are the heroes because we all accept that we are playing people that go, thou shalt not suffer the monster to live.
True story.
Yes.
Um,
Yes. This is just Bree the person having.
Yeah, Bree, stop it.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm
so
done.
All right.
Stop that.
All right.
I
Are
own
you all
it.
going out the back or the front? What's happening?
Back.
Okay. How are we getting that back door open?
well, it's you said it's both locked and
Bolted.
barred.
Yeah.
Sorry, and bolted. Yeah, so the bolt should be
Forgive
relatively
me, because
easy.
you said you were looking out the back door. I assumed the back door was open. Otherwise, I would have made more steps, therefore, to secure the front door, which I latched, assuming we were going out the back. That's misinformation on my part, but I didn't verify.
It's your choice where to go out.
Shadow will definitely make some comment as to we don't know whether this one's warded either. Remember the screaming skull? I don't want that to happen again.
Maybe it's time. No, just go out the front.
Door
Let's just go
quickly.
back out the
Let's
front
make
door.
it. Let's make it ship shape. Quick.
Because I don't want to take time having to open another door. That's
just-
my
yeah.
thing. Let's just go. Front door.
Okay. You're going out the front door.
Mhm.
Don't have a getaway vehicle.
Excellent.
Yeah, should I suspect getaway vehicle should be on our list of
We-
potential flashbacks, guys.
We shall divide and we shall meet back up at the location.
All right. Still think Hammond and Slider getting the worst out of this one, but see you there, guys.
So you all go in different directions. There are only so many directions to go in, so I assume some of you are not, if not paired up, then certainly going in the same direction.
Yeah, I figured since Hound has a body he wants to deal with.
So I'm going to ask some questions then. I want to know who goes west, who goes east, and who goes north.
Which direction is directly back to
West.
west? Okay.
I don't have a strong opinion.
I think Spider and Slider going north.
I'll go the other way. Whatever you said.
East or west?
East.
Yeah.
Which
You have to-
way?
You have to choose one.
Oh, east.
Yep. I'm not presenting difficult dilemmas.
I'm heading
just-
east with cursor in that case.
Okay.
I'll
Yes,
go
which is
west
what
then.
Bree in
Bye,
it for a
guys.
moment. Let's not forget that when asked to pick odds or evens, she wasn't able to do that. I think she even said heads.
Yeah, she said head. Right. And I was like, yes, Bree, and that would be odds or evens on the die. My dice don't have heads and tails on them. That was
Babe, I love you so much, but
I
was
know
this whole thing.
who I am.
no, in that case, I believe that it is Slide and Spider who encounter them.
Throw Kid at them.
No.
You are barely a few buildings away when you walk past some rather well-dressed people who don't seem to pay you any mind.
Mhm.
And then as they go past, one of them says, Wasn't that Weller's latest charge? And then you hear, pardon me?
In that moment, Spider will take hold of Kit's hand and will glance at Mr. Slide, whom he has seen, who he saw slide into the DMs of all the people in the bar completely without tipping them off, and will keep walking, assuming Mr. Slide is going to stop and do some slide business.
That was indeed my plan, unless we were just going to fucking cheese it.
Oh, I love that Slide knows Spider's know Slide so well, and Spider's going to go, keep walking, Kit. The bad men do not stop.
I say, excuse me.
Pause. So I'm just thinking about. I think he's going to have to take the face mask off. Well, that's just well fucking dodge. It's yeah. It's yeah.
Break
but
containment.
I don't think I can talk them down if I'm wearing a face mask. That's not a. I don't look at all like an innocent bystander under those circumstances. So yeah, it's kind of going to be in the guise of adjusting the hat. We'll just kind of pull that and turn.
They try to walk past you.
Good day, gentlemen. Please, sorry, you've got some problem
sorry.
here.
I believe there's someone we know over there, and we're trying to get his attention.
My brother's ward. I doubt it considerably. Excuse me, it's a bit of a dark night. Could you please give us a little distance? There's no trouble here, I don't imagine.
You're going to have to do me some sort of roll. But you will have an extra die from it because the model railway man redeemed a minor help.
For the moment, Slide is still, whilst there's possibly a certain amount of physical body blocking, he's still relying upon guile and convincing them that at the very least he is an obstacle which needs to be contended with. So
Okay.
I would still like to try a sway.
Okay, yeah.
How much stress can we afford on?
That extra dice. Yeah, the intention is to try to delay them and also convince them that you must be mistaken. Can I take a gambit, devil's bargain?
You want a devil's bargain? You have to say it properly, though.
Sorry, yes. I would like to accept a devil's bargain.
You would like a devil's bargain.
Just a cheeky devil's bargain.
I mean, I've already taken off the face mask, so I feel like I'm there.
Yeah,
Mind
I think taking off the face mask has given me the cue for the devil's bargain. One day, one of these men will recognize you.
Cool.
Cool.
So that'll be our play for all of the. I want to delay and dissuade them. Risky?
Yes, I think it is risky. I think I'm instead of. Should I give you an extra die? I'm not going to give you the extra die, but I am going to reduce. I'm going to increase the effect from reduced to standard, which I think will actually be better for you in this instance than an extra die. Because you have the extra die from the devil's bargain anyway. So.
Yes, I have the extra dice from the devil's bargain, so this is risky. This
standard.
Is standard effect with one extra dice.
I'm not on Roll20s. You'll have to tell me what you get.
Oh, that's a 5.
A 5. Okay. Success with a consequence. Risky as well. This is what you get. You persuade them as you intended not to bother pursuing you, Spider and Kit, anymore. But they still smell something of a rat. So just as one of them is about to try and press the matter, the other one nudges them and goes, "We need to get to Weller's now." And they start running towards Weller's shop.
I cheese it after Slide and Kit.
Okay. So I think the consequence of that will probably be something like one more heat, but they're not going to be able to catch up with you because they have no. It'll be pretty easy for you to go down a couple of streets in an odd direction and you're lost forever. So
what did they look like?
What did they look like? These persons. They were both dressed very well, if a little theatrically. They both had top hats. They both had cloaks on, cloaks tied with what appeared to be gold chains. You wouldn't exactly say matching uniforms exactly, but those cloaks were certainly from the same tailor.
What a snazzy group of cultists.
They were very snazzy. Yeah.
Yeah, slide dwarf.
So let's track where everyone is. I believe Spider and Slide have the orb and kit. Is that correct? Okay. So no one else has anything that it matters that they have for the purposes of getting found with it.
I would love that to be the case.
I mean, Hound does have a corpse.
You have a rug with that's a little bulkier than it might be. So where are you going with it?
Ideally,
Can that be a conversation between Cutter and Hound?
Yeah.
We're walking.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, why did you take the body?
I can get rid of bodies.
Do you need help doing that?
I might need help flagging down and loading it into a kind of cab.
Okay. Sure. No, I don't want to know. All right. Following your lead here.
Okay, let's think this one through. I'm going to try and see if there's a cab that I can flag down, because I need to leave now. We need to go.
Yeah, you can easily get a cab.
And I want to be heading... basically, I want to leave this place. I want to head towards one of my friends' place.
Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, like, that job's done. People now need to get out and then regroup at the pub, I imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just going to make good on an opportunity that I've seen.
So where are you taking this carpet?
I would like to take it to, ideally in a way that's kind of. I wouldn't mind dropping Cutter off just before we get there, so I can keep my personal business personal. But I want to go see my physica friend, or rather, my doctor friend.
Yes, do you want to go and see the physical friend? That's absolutely fine. As you or as the Hound?
He will need to swap out for him, because this is more like my day job.
Okay, yep. I think you've had late night visits here before when the need has arisen. In fact, that's when you do much of your business with this particular person, I understand. Oh, I wasn't expecting it tonight.
No, I wasn't expecting me tonight either, but I just happened to have had an opportunity dropped off, as it were. I figured the university could make good use of it.
All right. Well, you better come round the back then.
Rightio. I've got something of a labourer with me, so don't be too alarmed. All kosher, I assure you.
Oh, sure, no problem. Where's this labourer?
I left him round the corner. Didn't want him seeing you, per se.
Oh, I see what you mean. Yeah. All right. Well, come on then. Let's have a look at him. Why is he?
We will go.
Do you know what? I don't want to know.
Easy for transportation. We'll go to wherever is most convenient for him to have a look and unroll and present the body.
Okay. And while this is fresh, okay, good. No, that's fantastic. I suppose. I'll maintain our usual policy of not
Thank you.
firing. Yeah, come see me tomorrow. I'll give you a few quid.
Pleasure doing business with you.
Nice you.
For the weirdest flashback ever, was Weller wearing anything particularly nice?
He did have a cravat pin with a pearl.
Yeah, that's with me. I'm having that. That's going right on.
Okay, great. Fine.
Spider and Slide, where are you taking Kit?
Does Mr. Slide have a contact he was thinking to take Kit to, or is this down to Mr. Spider?
I can possibly see about if any of my fellows at the club can. I can. There is people I can leave him with, and the idea that I need to try to help him get a decent apprenticeship after this.
You seem like a man of connection.
Yes, no, I know exactly actually where I will take him, where he can be decently taken care of for the short term, and then we'll, if not there, then we'll make sure. I mean, with this might also sort him out with an apprenticeship, but if not there, then somewhere else.
Very well. You go ahead with that. I shall have a discussion with Kit about discretion.
Yes.
Whilst also, I believe, purchasing a sticky bun.
Yes, I think so. Oh, get me one too when I get back.
Of course.
Yes, thank you.
Good.
And I'm going to my contact, Mr. Ripley, the pub owner, for
Perfect.
if he doesn't have use of a boy, then can he at least babysit a boy for?
Yeah, like if he's a hard worker and you know, I can always use someone to help me keep things tidy around here.
Excellent. Then Kit's going to get super exposed to Mr. Slide's real life eventually, but whatever.
Whose boy is he? What boy is this?
A friend of mine had to suddenly sell up his entire shop, set off, and left his poor apprentice fellow, this kid. Lost his apprenticeship, so it's terrible business, you know, sick sister, all of that. I honestly not pulling your leg. He has a sick, unless the kid's pulling my leg, he has a sick sister.
Don't they all, don't they? Well, yeah, like I said, I can always use another pair of hands. How old?
How old is he?
10.
10?
He can wipe tables as good as anyone else.
Yes. And if we can get one to
Does he know his way around? Can he read? Does he know his way around numbers?
He was assisting in a shop, and so I admit I don't have a full grasp of his talents. But by all means,
I'll meet the lad. I'll find
Thank you.
something for him.
Yes, by all means, make the decision. And if not, if you could just keep an eye on him for a bit while I make arrangements.
On a wall outside the pub, Mr. Spider will approach Kit, doing his best to seem avuncular, but almost certainly feeling a little bit like he doesn't have Slide's charisma. Like, he's good with people, but he's not super like, hey chap, let's go to the sports.
That might be exactly what he's like.
So he'll approach him with, like, you know, he'll go to find some sort of bun seller, got him a hot bun with wrapped in a bit of paper, and go, you are now, Kit. It's important that I know that my fellows have spoken to you about the fact that your former employer was something of an unpleasant man, although he may have always been kind to you. He did a lot of harm to many people, and for this reason, we are worried that there may be people who are looking for you. Therefore, it is important that you do not mention this previous fellow to others you may speak with. It is best that you just pretend that he never existed. You worked in a shop for a Mr. Smith, and you were a hard worker at the shop, and now you will work somewhere else. My companion, Mr. Slide, and I will ensure that you get good employment elsewhere. And Mr. Spider is going to reach into the inner pocket of his coat. I believe you mentioned you had a sister who was not well. Well, that's frightful, and we mustn't have that. Given that I'm not certain when this new apprenticeship of yours will begin, here is £5.
Are you joking?
I assure you, Kit, I am very sincere. It's an important lesson for a young man to learn, when it is important to talk and when it is important to listen. And I think tonight has been an important lesson for you in listening.
Yes, sir.
Now you will be a young gentleman, Kit, and you shall take good care of your sister and apply yourself to this new apprenticeship diligently.
I will, Mr. Spider, sir.
Thank you. Now enjoy your bun.
I will. He
Also,
takes his bun and his fiver.
It is most important, if ever given paper money, that you fold it thusly and tuck it into the inner part of your shirt here, where it is less likely to fall out, and less likely for some unsightly type to take it from you in the streets.
He says, I'll remember that next time I've got a shirt in a pocket. And then he scrunches it up in his hand and scampers off.
No, come back. You've got to...
Got to eat your bun.
Kit, you've got to meet this...
buy a waistcoat.
Kit, you've got to meet this publican.
Dress for the job you want.
Kit, you better not scamper off. We're looking after him.
I'm moving the scene.
Yes.
Scampers off to Mr. Slide. I was like, come back. You're a scallion.
We're pushing on the time. I want to get on. So you all get to the fiver. That's a coin. So
I am happy to spend that coin.
Yeah. So I'm assuming you all meet back at Aventine eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
If that was made clear, because I was going back to where we got the job.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was made. Well, I'm sure I heard someone say the pub, but it's,
Cool. Then I will go going back to the pub eventually.
Mm-hmm.
that might have been my.
That's probably a meet out front kind of scenario, because I imagine we're going to have a conversation and then go to Whispers. I anticipate would be.
Yeah, I think it's we reassemble and then go back to Whispers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you all reassemble on the street outside Aventine.
Splendid. We all good chaps. Kids taken care of.
Well, we all seem to be here in one piece, so apparently no.
We did run into a band of suspiciously well-dressed miscreants who I think were the people that I was anticipating. I fobbed them off quite successfully as they recognized Kit.
The people who work for, what was it, Sagittarius? Sagitt something?
Presumably, yes, but didn't really stop to have the discussion. I think
we are concerned for Kit. I have impressed upon him the necessity of silence, but who can say with these people?
Mr. Hound, I can't help but notice you're a little lighter loaded than you were last time. Everything go okay?
Everything's been dealt with. I do have one question. It's not something I'm going to dwell on much, but it's something that might be worth bringing up discreetly with Madame Whisper. He said something. He said you've got the wrong fella.
There are two things.
Well, I don't know about any of you, but I didn't feel my brain twisting around to accept that as logic and true.
No, but then he died. Also, one thing I will say is that asking around here, he was clearly persona non grata, show. Not a particularly welcome figure. His name was spoken in hushed tones of the implications of he is a figure of distaste to the patrons within.
Right.
Shall we go back to Whisper and
tell? Might I say, Mr. Cutter, that was some marvelous, decisive application of violence. I abhor violence, but when it is necessary that it is done quickly.
And of course, he would have treated the boy well. He wanted him cooperative.
Precisely. I'm telling him he would tell him he would go off to a better apprenticeship, and then that would be when the hammer would fall.
I would like side-eye Hound's new shiny pearl pin.
I think
about that already.
Nice pin.
Exemplary performances, one and all.
Abby!
So yeah, you return to Fitzroy Square. This time, of course, you know exactly which building you're going to.
In the cab, of course, Mr. Spider will go, oh, by the way, Mr. Slide, your bun.
Oh, yes, thank you. No, he has more decorum than that.
Oh, I was gonna say, where's my bun?
Are we in the third class carriage again?
We're in the back carriage. We don't get buns. We're in the naughty boy carriage.
You put yourselves in there, Christ.
The cabs drive off. You're standing in Fitzroy Square.
Hop out. Shall we?
Let's.
And Slide will again very happily go for the door.
You knock on the door and it opens.
Step in. Madam Whisper? Oh, please don't be dead.
That would really suck.
pretty terrible.
I'm gonna get a pistol out. This is dodge already.
I mean, she said she probably wasn't going to survive the night. So
Might I lead?
sure, of course.
I'm gonna keep a pistol just close to my chest and start advancing to the room where we knew Whisper to
Let
be
the
quite
hitman
cautiously.
go first.
You enter the lounge area, and there is a Madam Whisper still in the chair, but she lifts her head slightly.
Put the gun away.
Mr. Hound, perhaps you should keep that weapon ready.
Don't need to tell me twice, madam.
I'm gonna come in also.
Yeah.
I won't block the door at that point. I'll let
Okay.
it filter in.
Well, we're going in, but okay.
You have all returned,
Yeah.
and Weller is dead.
You can tell.
As I said. So,
Capital.
you have decided not only to secure my final peace by dispatching my enemy, but also to return and to continue this life of peril and violence.
If it takes more monsters like that out, I think we're all in.
It will take out monsters like that and worse, Mr. Shadow, like that and worse. As promised, this building belongs collectively to the five of you at the moment of my death, and all of the materials and assets contained therein. On a table behind me, you will see the deeds, not in your names, but if I've done my job correctly, you will never need to show them to anyone. You will also see 2 keys. One leads to the cellar, the other leads to a chamber within the cellar, where I'm sure you will find much to your interest. Now, my friends, I must ask you for one final favor. There is a second murder I have for you to perform.
Oh, golly.
Why?
I assure you, Mr. Shadow, this monster has it coming as much as Sidney Weller ever did.
Do you deem it necessary, madam?
Yes,
Oh, golly.
but I warn you, it will not be easy.
What? Why, madam?
Because I will fight back.
Could you not?
I cannot
don't-
help myself.
I don't think she's got much of a choice, Mr. Slide. I don't
Mr.
think
Cutter.
she's quite herself.
Suddenly she is standing.
Would you mind closing the door, Mr. Cutter?
Gentlemen, God save the Queen. And she launches herself at Mr. Hound with the speed of a bullet.
Oh no,
Kill this
that's very
vampire.
fast.
Mr. Hound, she slams you full in the chest. So I am going to issue you 1 harm, broken ribs, unless you want to resist that.
No, she's got the drop on me. I think it's very appropriate that
That's
she
fair for
breaks
you,
my
but that's
rib.
fair, Madam Whisper. Good for you.
Good for you, you crazy vampire lady.
What?
Oh, there's the other shoe.
Look, you got me.
I love though that Mr. Spider, Mr. Slide were like, she means her. Very well. Why?
I mean, don't forget me.
So she,
They'd be like, why?
so Whisper
Golly.
lurches suddenly towards Hound, and what she's done is she's slammed both hands at you and kind of lifted you a good 6 inches off the floor. Within her eyes, there is an unsettling red light.
I'd like to shoot her.
You would like to shoot her? Well,
Seems fair.
It seemed like that is a thing you'll have to do if you want to do that. So you are in close with her in a way where you don't have full control. So it's desperate, but standard effect.
There is nothing that Slide could do that he would do right now to help this. He's not.
To be honest, I think those of you who aren't Hound are still processing that it's happened.
Still in the middle of turning to be like,
actually, there is one thing you all have to do, which will resolve after Hound has made his shot. So remind me after that.
I'll do, but for the time being, I will make my shot. Whoop. That's a 3 and a 2.
That is a 3, is it?
Yeah.
That is a 3 at desperate. Desperate. So what is going to happen is you try to maneuver your pistol to shoot her just right in the heart. And she, moving one of her hands faster than you think is probable, pushes your arm aside with such force that it breaks. So I'm going to give you level 2 harm, broken arm.
Oh, now that I would like to resist.
That you would like to resist? Yes,
Yeah.
I imagine you probably would. I think that's a prowess.
Do a prowess. Any bonus die I could have?
I don't
think.
No. I mean, no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because not an action, I don't think you can do a devil's bargain for it.
Oh, that
Break
sucks.
the other arm instead. Just
Okay, so you take level 1 harm, dislocated shoulder, and that costs you 3 stress.
I will, as my namesake, the dog would, I will howl, but it's in pain.
So it sounds like there's 2 helps and a hinder in play.
There's 2 helps and 2 hinders now.
2 helps and 2 hinders. Okay, so you have all just encountered something manifestly supernatural. As a result of that, oh my goodness me, is it here? Sorry, it's not. Right, you are having a close encounter with something that's obviously supernatural. The default response to this is that you're all paralyzed with fear, which means you have 2 options. You can either be paralyzed with fear or flee, or you can make a resolve resistance to ignore the effect.
Yes. What does that do? How do we do that?
Let us resolve.
You roll resolve.
Please
Okay.
roll.
And we acquire. There's no means of bonus dice for this either, is there?
No, because this is just resistance.
I will be doing that as soon as my character sheet becomes available to me again, as it's decided to break. I'll be right back.
I clear my stress. I rolled a 6. I rolled 2 6s.
So I am going to have to issue some helps and hinders. I'm not going to issue any hinders. But what I will do is if anyone rolls a 1 or a 2, I'll treat it as having rolled 1 higher.
Hi, what's up? I rolled
Hello.
a 2.
You rolled a 2, so you actually rolled a 3.
Thanks.
So you resist fleeing and take 3 stress.
So if I rolled a 5, I resist fleeing and I clear. No,
You take 1 stress.
take 1 stress.
Yep.
Okay.
Rolled a 5.
Okay, then you resist fleeing and take 1 stress.
I got a 4 because I have nothing in resolve.
Then you resist. You got a 4.
I got a 6 and a 4. I
Oh,
say the
and
lowest
because
because
it's
I have no
dice.
no dice.
I understand you. Well, that's fine. You still get that. So you take 2 stress, but you resist fleeing. What up, Mr. Slide?
I rolled 2 6s, so in fact I clear my stress.
You would
and
actually clear
cool
stress.
as a cucumber. I clearly Slide is just like, this might as well happen.
Well, then.
Just like, oh, another murder. Oh no, that's not good. I can't handle this. Oh, it's one of us that's being murdered. I'm cool.
So that resolves all that. Mr. Hound has issued his attempted response. So I'm eager to hear from the next person who has a response to this.
I'm going to spring into action at that point off the basis
Makes
of
sense, yes.
of 2 6s, as that cane sword's coming up, and Mr. Slide taking briefly a sort of fencery stances, but then going to lunge, try to smack her with the cane, and then stab her in the neck with a skirmishy.
Okay, so what I'm going to do with this is I'm going to cash in a minor hint to give you a worse consequence for failure.
Excellent, but I am going to spend a stress I just lost to give myself an extra dice.
You may as well spend a couple stress since you got them back.
So risky, desperate?
It is risky because although she can hurt you, she is presently focused on someone else, and it's standard effect, but there will be worse consequences for partial successes or failures.
A 6.
Excellent. So it's a full success, which means you do in fact manage to stab her in the neck. She's still standing up, which is unfortunate for someone who was recently stabbed in the neck. But she is bleeding. I don't know if the word bleeding implies the existence
Oozing
of blood. Yes.
Yeah.
She is secreting from the wound in her neck a black ichor of some kind. And she rasps, you hit her inside of the neck, so her throat's fine. She rasps, "Do it quickly." Who's next?
Me?
Kata.
Okay.
Because if Shadow and Spider have to get involved, something has, gone
Yeah.
badly.
Okay. Can I whip out my two, like, what are the blades, the curvy ones?
Kukri.
Yes, I want that. Do you have two? Is that like how it works? Or
You
is it
can
just
have
one?
two.
I want two.
I think,
Can I-
yeah.
And I want to go up behind her and do like the cross thing across her neck. I'm trying to take off her head.
Okay, fine. Then that's risky, standard, worse consequences for failure because of that other hinder.
Can I spend the stress for more dice?
You surely bloody may.
Good deal. I'm gonna
I
do
support
that.
this action.
Can I
Okay.
also aid by I've got her slightly in place and spend some stress to give her
You
an
can
extra
spend,
dice?
spend one stress for another dice.
This feels like a thing where stress should be spent if possible.
Okay, and I'm so sorry. What did you say the position was?
It's risky position with standard effect.
Okay, standard
You spent
effect.
2 stress and Slide spent 1 stress, so you have 2 extra dice.
So 2 extra dice. Okay, 5.
Okay, so worse consequences for a mixed success. It is, however, a success. So you bring your kukris down deep here to try to cut off her arteries and try to sever her head if possible. You don't sever the head, but she releases her iron grip on Mr. Hound and falls to the floor. And before she even hits the floor, her body is engulfed with blood red flame, which gives off no heat. However, there is a consequence for this. It was risky, and I'm giving a bad consequence. It's got to be a consequence for you, not for Hound.
Mm-hmm.
How burny is this fire?
Well, you said there was no heat though.
Yeah.
No heat. I think. I'm absolutely open to
Is
suggestions.
he shooting like through her? Hit me or something?
Oh. So so you're reflexively trying to fire your second pistol, but
Yes.
she's already out of the way by the time you do.
Or it could be
Yes.
Slide's blade if you want something slightly less extreme than a bullet.
Yeah, I'm good with either one.
I am going to go with that Hound accidentally shoots you. But it was at an angle, like you're not shot in the gut like you were during the timeline where that happened. But you are going to take level 1 harm, which is a bad abdominal bruise.
Also, Mike, bear in mind at this point in time you'll have a revolver. Like you don't have one-shot pistols.
No.
That's a fair point, yes.
So yeah, you're that's that, and there's now a pile of glowing cinders. I say they're cooling. The light is dimming, but there is no warmth coming from them.
Shadow is absolutely just frozen to the spot, staring at it, just
I
visibly freaking out.
I think Shadow and Spider have both formed this thing of going,
He shot me.
What the bloody hell was that?
Well,
Get
it's
rid of a
either-
body and you shot me.
He stows the gun, heads over to Cutter. Let me see it. Let me see it.
Yeah, I'm scared to look.
she's
Having a-
dead now, right? Not
Most people are traditionally not still alive if they've just turned to fire and ash.
You'd be
Once
fucking
again,
surprised, Mr.
Shadow, I
Slide.
will say I have all of the information that you have.
Right. So, that's a question for later. The what is a question for later. Do you think we should go back to the pub? I'm feeling like a pint right now.
Nope.
Anyone
I'm
else?
giving Cutter a quick once over, looking at the wound itself.
Is that
Abdominal
You're in
wound.
far worse shape than
Like I limp over and see this little cut.
Mr. Cutter is in an enormous amount of pain, and for the next few weeks, she's going to have this bruise kind of across her side. But there's no penetration, there's no bleeding.
I think it's only when he like moves to kind of better look at the that wound, he realizes his own shoulder's dislocated and just kind of cries out, staggers a little towards Cutter.
Perhaps the two of you should attend upon a doctor.
or like separate doctors?
Or one very discreet doctor.
Grammatically, that is what I was
I wonder if anyone
saying.
knows any very discreet
Sorry,
doctors.
Mr. Spider. I'm hoping that you know some kind of doctor between you.
I do, yes. Cutter, I could only apologise. It is not in my usual nature for a shot to go anywhere other than where it was intended. I
To
can
be
only
Defense,
assure you.
Mr. Hound, she did
There was a
stop
lot.
existing.
There's
Oh,
a
there
lot
is,
going
yeah.
on.
Mr. Slide,
Huh?
Mr. Slide,
Yes.
you should probably clean your sword
Yes.
and then put it away.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Slide, when she disintegrated, all of the black gunk on your sword turned to ash and fell off.
Oh, there's no blood.
Oh, that's
I'm
do we
going
do
to
with
see
this?
if she kept any brandy.
Capital.
that sounds like a very good idea. I'm up for a brandy. I'll probably get a sniff under this mask.
Help the others to a cab.
That would be
Mr.
great. I
Shadow.
can't really lift my hand to,
All right,
you know.
come on,
flag
Mr.
one
Hound.
down.
Cutter, can you walk on your own?
Yeah.
Right.
But it's like the obvious grimace through like every time you step. It's like, "Ugh."
Right. All right. You're going first down the stairs, and then I'm gonna make sure Mr. Hound doesn't fall over with his new lopsidedness. Because one of your arms, mate, that is not a normal angle for that to hang at.
No.
I could put it back if you like. I mean, it won't be perfect, but
Okay,
wait.
so
Oh my god.
actual healing will be done. It could be done downtime. You go and see your doctor. The doctor binds your ribs, and I'm afraid to say there's nothing else for it. Resets your shoulder.
I actually don't want to leave yet if I'm not bleeding.
Yeah, like you are not in a critical condition. You don't know. I mean, you might be internally bleeding. You're obviously,
Well,
that would be worse than a level 1 wound. Like,
I'll stop by my doctor, but like if I'm not bleeding and I'm still
Yeah.
walking,
yeah, I don't want to break
Doc.
things up too much. Like it's nice to stay in the creepy house while you can.
We
I'm
do
gonna
need
be
to
in
check it out.
yeah.
So you go downstairs to the cellar. It's an empty wine cellar. You can see racks where barrels and kegs might have been kept. You can see a couple of cabinets for bottles. And towards the back, there is another door, which the second of your keys opens. You open this door and are greeted by a very different sight. This is an armory, if it's anything. It's equipped with, you have bullets and swords and tools for the maintenance and upkeep of weapons. There are practice paper targets. And there is on one wall
an ebony door. The ebony door is flush to the wall. There's no gap between the door and the wall. It is inscribed with mysterious glyphs. There is no handle or lock visible on the ebony door. And it is cold. It radiates cold a couple of inches away. Not deathly freezing cold, but it's definitely markedly cooler than this already quite cold cellar that you are in. There is a strong box. It's actually not a strong box. I think it's a wall safe. There is a wall safe. The combination is on a piece of paper that has been placed on the table next to the safe. You open it up. There is a lot of money in this safe.
Ooh.
If we can do a bit of timey-wimey, it might be nice to wrap things up at the Aventine. I think you go to the Aventine. You go. This is a lot to take in. Maybe some brandy would also be nice to take in. And we can maybe get in this guy's good books with these.
Oh yes. I remember it was the thing we said. Since we're doing timey-wimey, Mr. Spider will be glancing over the most recent ledger to try and copy out some of those names for the landlord.
There are no names in the ledger.
We were going to go to the bank, but I think that'll have to wait till this is obviously a suggestion for when we are in
better health.
Better health.
I think the thing with the bank is
opening hours.
You don't know which bank.
Yeah.
I don't want to tell you not to do it, but I think it's a lead that you don't have enough on yet.
Yeah. It's definitely a lead in the back of our head, because if he has a list of names, they'll be in there, probably.
Certainly those names are somewhere, and the bank isn't just going to destroy them.
No.
So, yeah. So you go to the Aventine. It's no quieter now. It's gone midnight now. By the time all this has been done, and you've come back from having your ribs bound and told the good news, you're not internally bleeding, but that bruise is really going to smart in the coming few days. And you go and you're shown to the table you were at before, and your landlord comes over. You look like you could use something a bit stronger than an Italian red.
Brandy, and if you please, from a bottle, not a decanter.
Oh, I know what the good stuff is, don't worry.
So you mean you give it to us?
He looks a bit hurt by that.
Don't mind Mr. Slide. He's had a bit of an evening.
Oh, no, don't worry. Don't worry. I understand.
Yes.
I understand.
No insults meant, landlord.
I trust you had a profitable evening of a sort.
Oh, yeah. Many things, but it was definitely profitable.
Much was gained.
Okay. Well, then this one's on the house, gentlemen.
Oh, very good of you, landlord.
Much obliged.
Right. Very kind of you. Very decent.
I suppose hopefully you'll be thinking of becoming regulars around here then.
I believe that is our intention, yes.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
So they say, yes. So they say. Yeah, walks off.
So that was a lot.
Shall we have a old club with a secure cellar and a secure armory inside the secure cellar,
And a really secure door that leads
and
somewhere.
a mysterious, creepy door, which was owned by a very nice lady who was also a killer monster.
Let's just say she was a woman of many talents.
Yes. However, we have taken out a most unpleasant fellow. The boy is fine. I'll make sure that he's taken care of.
So it looks like we're going to be doing this for the long run then. That about right?
Well, I don't... It's far more interesting than anything else I have going on.
Quite. I found
Likewise.
my talents to be rather stagnating of late.
Well,
Drink.
Say you, Mr. Carter and Mr. Hound.
Did you say something? I'm sorry, I didn't catch
Do you,
it.
what say you?
What say you, Mr. Carter, Mr. Hound? For the long term?
I mean, I don't think any of us would blame you if you walked away now. You guys had a pretty hard night.
It wasn't what I expected. But
I don't think any night should be an easy night.
Interesting philosophy.
Yes, but should every night be tonight?
No,
It was-
preferably not.
it was a good night for Kit. Maybe that's I can live with.
That
that.
is a good point. That is a good
Right.
point.
Therefore, it was a good night for London.
We saved an innocent. We should be proud of ourselves.
And future innocence.
Yeah.
And not just did we save an innocent, I think that if we'd been minutes later, certainly an hour later, Kit wouldn't have been there for us to find and rescue.
Because you run into those guys and they recognize Kit, which is not a good sign for Kit.
Maybe they just recognized him as the apprentice. Maybe they had other business, but maybe not.
No, I agree.
So we have a couple of things we can look into in the long run.
But tonight, none of that.
Yes. Yes, quite. Done good job here, I say.
Job
Gentlemen,
well
Good
done.
job, well done.
Gentlemen.
Chin chin, all that.
Oh.
Lovely. Okay, let's
Labrador setting.
move into downtime. So the first thing is we are running on a modified version of the Vigilante playbook. It's actually a combination of Vigilante and Assassin, which I'm simply calling Stranger. But what Vigilantes get in downtime is not huge amounts of gold and some rep. They actually get more rep and less gold. But you did get some coin. You got 2 coin, which was swiped. Now your safe back at base contains 4 coin, which is as much as it can contain. So that 2 coin is either going to have to be kept by an individual or individuals, or spent by an individual or individuals. You can later on upgrade your safe at the lair to contain more coin, but for now, 4 is a lot of coin. You should picture a big old pile of cash. It's hard to transport. So 2 coin is a lot. It's a decent amount of money. You normally spend money on all sorts of things, upgrading and leveling up and things like that. You don't yet have your Gentleman Stranger's calling cards to deposit. However, you did do the thing, and people know that someone did it. So I am going to go straight ahead and say, although no one knows you did it, you did protect someone in the course of doing it. So I'm going to give you 3 rep. Maybe people don't know the term Gentleman Strangers, but they do know that something has happened to Mr. Weller. And they know that someone did it. So you get 3 rep.
Also, we were asking around about Weller on that very evening amongst the mysterious people of the Aventine.
You were indeed. You were indeed.
Is someone doing the
so,
sheet, or shall I?
I'm not doing it, but someone...
I'm doing it. Don't anyone else do it.
Okay.
Okay.
So, heat. It was pretty smooth and quiet, and you did get low exposure. I promised you 1 heat as a consequence for something. What was that a consequence?
It was for it was for running into the dudes afterwards because I only got a 5 on fobbing them off.
Fine. In that case, you get 1 heat. I don't think much is going to happen as a result of that. I will roll for it, but I don't suspect much is going to happen. Let me.
Like that.
Oh, goodness me. 1d6. Do I just? Oh no! I roll your wanted level. You have no wanted level, so fine. Your heat will stay with you until you either do a downtime action to get rid of it, or it grows enough to become an actual wanted level. So no need for any of that just yet. Now, it's time to do some downtime stuff. But first, because we are pushing towards 8 o'clock, and we are definitely going to overrun, but because people have places to be and have probably decided they want to have meals after 8 o'clock, I would first like to talk about this new help and hinder thing we're doing. So as the gentlemen strangers finish their drinks and leave the Aventine, they take separate cabs, of course. They're going in separate directions to their various homes. And what we see on the other side of the street from the Aventine, sitting on a bench, is someone watching who chuckles to themselves and says, "Gentlemen strangers." So, we will do downtime at some point. We might do it off stream. We might do it later on, but we might even do it at the beginning of next week, so that the players can have a chance to think about their options. But I want to talk about this help hinder thing. So, we're doing a bit of a fundraiser for the Trash channel. As many of you may know, if you are patrons, for example, we recently revamped our Patreon with new goals and much sort of more buff tiers, you know, more bang for your buck, as it were. Patreon isn't our only source of income for the channel, but it's our main one, and it's the one that we want to help to grow most, because it's really good for engagement. Everything we get goes towards the same goals, though. So all those ambitions that we have, it all goes towards those. And we all decided between ourselves to stop taking a share of the Patreon cash as we had been doing before, and to instead keep it there and invest it in growing the channel, which in the long run is going to be really good and really much more important. And one of the things, at least that I want to focus on as one of our midterm goals, is being able to pay our GMs. Because if you're a watcher of Star Trek Iskander, you know that they rotate GMs. So they have all GM'd now, as of very recently, they have all had at least one turn GMing. So although obviously they're doing that because they love the hobby and they want to do that and have never asked for any form of compensation, I feel that that's a nice goal to be able to get to, is to actually have a budget set aside for paying our GMs for the work they put in. So to do that, as well as helping to grow the Patreon, we want to do a bit of a fundraiser to try and get some cash so that we can start a few things early, such as, for example, a merch store, which would be a potentially another nice bit of income to get us ever closer to that goal. It also means better gear for streaming with, and the very highest goal we have, of course, getting the whole Trash crew in the same country. TrashCon 2021, you can make that happen.
Country will be England, because there's most of us are here.
Country will be England because the entire Iskander crew and 3 of the Trash crew live in England. So, but that's why we need so much money, to bust our friends out of North America and get them to come.
Beth and I will pay for your coach from Scotland. Stop whining.
Yeah, and Scotland, which is actually harder to get to than Canada.
It's a longer coach ride than the flight to Canada.
You know, we have a wall and everything.
So what are we doing to raise some cash? Well, obviously we do have helps and hinders, which you do trash bags for, sometimes real cash money, but there's something special. Keen-eyed or keen-eared observers of our stream today will have noticed some strange elements that have gone unexplained. And these elements are for our audience to decide. What is the function of the shimmering orb liberated from the clutches of the wicked Mr. Weller? In the dark basement of the lair of the Gentlemen Strangers, what lies behind the ebony door? And what is the identity and intention of the shrouded watcher who beheld our heroes returning from the Aventine? Any of all of these could be beneficial or harmful to the players. And for the next couple of weeks, they're all up for auction. One auction with everyone's bids anonymous, and everyone who bids gets a prize. The top 3 bidders get their picks out of the orb, the door, and the watcher, and everyone else will get a moderate or major influence, depending on how much they spend, and also the chance to pitch to me a score for the players to complete. You basically tell me a target, a hunt or a heist, and I'll get it in the game somehow for you. Once the stream is over, I'll do a tweet, which will be our pinned tweet at It You Crew, with details of the auction. There's a Google form to fill in. You should get on our Discord, which I will also link, and that is where the auction's results will roll in. You'll always know the highest bid. It's like eBay. You'll only know the highest bid. And just like with eBay, you bid your maximum, which you'll almost never get charged your maximum because that's not how it works. You'll get paid just enough to beat the person below you. All the rules will be spelled out, but it's running for the next 2 weeks. I'm going to bring it to a close on the 31st of August, Monday the 31st of August, at what will be 10 p.m. for us in the UK. So that's really exciting. Have a think about that. It may well be that and this is the plan for success, nice problem to have thing. It might well be that the result is higher than what a major influence would normally cost. If that's the case, then the power of the thing you choose will be greater to compensate. So you might end up doing a double major hinder or a double major help or something. The players are dreading it being a member of the Hinder Kinder and hoping that the members of the Aid Brigade are feeling more generous.
Hinder Kinder represents 6 Semper Tyrannis!
This is unambiguously a fundraiser, but hopefully it's one that you feel you can help us with in good conscience. We really, really want to grow the channel, and we really want the artists and GMs that we have, both in-house and anyone we get in as a guest or from outside, to be appreciated in that very material way that I think 2020 has highlighted is really important. Because while popularity and gratitude is fantastic, it buys no groceries. And we would really like to help the people who put the work in around the channel, trash crew or otherwise, to buy a few more groceries as a result of doing it. All these details are going to go up on Twitter at @UCrew. They're all going to be put on the Discord, which there'll be a link to in the Twitter post. I think because it is 10-2, we'll do downtime next session, which is in 2 weeks' time, if that's okay.
Yeah, I'm mostly done just distracted playing with the orb.
Yep, it'll give you all a chance to have a look at downtime and ask me questions about it and get it all sorted. I know some of you have stress you want to get rid of and things like that.
In the game too.
In the game too. So the last thing for me to do is to say a huge thank you to our wonderful patrons, whose continued support not only means the world to us, but is the foundation from which we can, become mighty streamers. So a huge thank you to Amy C, Andre Cherepnine, Araloki, Caffeine Kitty, Diego de los Reyes, Elagos Alexander, Helena Handbasket, unlike Izzy, I say them alphabetically, Henry Prestige, James Malloy, Joe, Joanna Marsh, Liz Murphy, Lou Sutcliffe, Lucas Justinian, asshole, Michael Bowman, Michael Crees, Mike Fielding, Mike Kilburn.
Also asshole.
Like, there are too many Michaels. Red Fox and Socky. We love you all. We are very grateful to you all. And you should all have access to the Discord. And if you don't, you should message us on Twitter. You DM us on Twitter and let us know. Because
God, it's full of memes.
Kicking off, and it's full of memes. And we love memes. So we love you. And thank you so much for watching the first episode of Gentlemen Strangers. I think it went really, really well.
You did such a good job.
It was a good job.
You did an amazing job. There were devil's bargains. Stress was spent.
Only one person got shot.
Only one person got shot.
Yeah.
No one got traumatized, which they did in our practice session. And you rid the London night of at least 1.5 monsters. So that's really splendid. Oh, and you've got a new snazzy pearl cravat.
The orb.
Which is the real prize. You also have an orb, a door, and a stranger.
Creepy.
So the secret option, by the way, is to come in 4th place and convince me that tie pin is also magic.
Very cursed. Very cursed.
Very badly cursed.
Who doesn't want to curse Mike?
Absolutely.
I wish I had more money.
So, thank you all so much, and we will see you on Tuesday night for more Iskander. There's going to be a new. Does it have a name yet? Is he?
Yes. What name did I say it was, Mike? It's called
The Politics of Peace.
The Politics of Peace.
So, join us all. I won't be there. Actually, I think I am.
Yes, you will.
I'll be there. Bree and Bethan won't. I don't think
they might watch.
I'll be there. I'll be watching. I'll be in the chat.
I'll watch.
Fantastic.
I'll watch.
So yeah, join the Iskander crew on Tuesday for the Politics of Peace, and I think they'll probably be weekly on Tuesdays. And we'll see you for Gentlemen Strangers 2 weeks hence at the same time.
Oh, I just saw the memes. Sorry.
I'll also see you around, possibly trying to outbid who gets to dick over the players the most in our influence auction. So until then, my dear friends, adieu.
Bye.
Bye.